Hello and welcome to One Week, One Year, a podcast where we watch and discuss every year of film history in order, starting in 1895, the dawn of cinema. And this episode is 1950. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Ellie. I'm a film projectionist, and joining me as always is...
I'm Glenn Covell. I'm a filmmaker.
Making those films, making that bread,
Trying.
casting those pods.
There you go.
Yeah. What's up, Glenn? How's it going?
Not much. Back in the wilderness of unemployment. Walking the cold streets of Brooklyn.
Yeah, we're both here in New York. We're recording together.
Yeah. I thought that the Oscars were going to be yesterday because it was in my calendar incorrectly.
Aren't they in March?
Yes.
Oh.
They're a full month from now.
Oh.
But I was like, oh man, that can be our intro. We can talk about the Oscars. Nope.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
They probably will have happened by the time this episode
There's
comes
only
out.
that grouch in the trash can down the street. That's an Oscar we can talk about. He was harassing me while I was on the way in here.
It's funny, there are actual trash cans about. So
Sesame Street's not far away.
I thought isn't Sesame Street canonically in Philadelphia?
No.
No?
You kidding me? That's New York, baby.
Is it?
I think so.
I thought it was supposed to be like Pittsburgh or Philadelphia.
No.
A smaller USA.
No.
No?
Yeah.
Because they didn't film it in New York.
I think they did.
Oh,
I think Sesame Workshop is in New York.
Well, I guess I'm wrong then. Apologies to all the Sesame heads.
It's his own... It's his own city, and he doesn't know anything about it. Not the first thing.
No.
At the gallery, are starting our series of American classics that we're going to be doing in celebration of America's 250th anniversary this year.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah. So we are playing a bunch of classic American cinema, starting with Casablanca on 35 that I played a couple days ago. It was a fun show. It was a great audience. Somebody went up to me after the show and he was like, I'm used to only old people like me coming to these screenings. Do you know why so many young people are here? I was like, I don't know, man. How am I supposed to know that?
Young people yearn for Casablanca.
Yeah, I mean...
They yearn for the anti-fascist sentiment of Casablanca.
Indeed. And I think they yearn for the classics because, whenever, listeners, if you ever find yourself at one of the theaters that I end up working at, I'm always glad to give a tour of the booth. And there were some kind of stragglers who, it was a group of 6 or 7, millennials, young people, quote unquote, not anymore, I guess. But they were kind of discussing the movie afterward, and they were like, I wonder what is up with those circles that were in the corner of the screen. And I was moving some signs around, putting them back in storage, and I was like, well, let me tell you. And I was like, I'm the projectionist, and I was explaining everything, and they were like, do you think that we could see the projectors? And I was like, sure, I have an Amtrak to catch, but I will do my best. And then after I gave them the tour, they were all very fascinated by it, and they were like, do you think you're going to be playing Citizen Kane? I want to see Citizen Kane.
Were they all holding their hats in front of them like cartoon...
Please, sir.
Yeah.
Please, sir, I'd love to see Citizen Kane. I don't know what Rosebud means.
This is my mental image of what these people were.
They were full adults. But yeah, they hunger for the classics.
Yeah.
And that's fun. I just heard also that we're going to be playing some CinemaScope classic musicals.
Cool.
Which I'm excited for because we don't actually play that much scope stuff on our screen, which is a scope screen.
There you go.
Anyway, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Speaking of the youth yearning for old stuff.
Are you young and do you want to hear about the news of the year 1950?
According to our evil internet analytics, you're not young. But
oh, I haven't looked at that.
I think last I checked, it was not enough data to say.
Oh, okay.
We don't have enough watchers/listeners for it to give us an accurate idea of who our audience is, which I'm fine with because then it preserves the mystery.
Yeah. We try to give ourselves a little bit of context for what is going on in the year of the films in question with which we are in which we are discussing whatever. Glenn, why don't you take it away?
Would that it were so simple.
Why don't you take it away with the news of the year?
The news of the year, 1950. The Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China sign a mutual defense treaty. The first Volkswagen microbus hits the streets. The Parliament of South Africa formally segregates the population. North Korea invades South Korea. President Truman orders American troops to give aid. The first Formula One World Championship is held in Italy. The comic strip Peanuts debuts in newspapers. Tenzin Gyatso is enthroned as the 14th Dalai Lama.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, not all nice. Some of it.
Not all nice. There was a lot of news I skipped over. It was like massacre, 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 massacre. I was like, we don't need all of that.
Why were the massacres happening?
All of the reasons.
Oh.
Just all over. I mean, several due to the Korean War. But, yeah, Korean War, not good. Hot take.
Yeah, wow. We just finished a war. Damn it.
I know. 5 short years ago.
Yeah. The news of the year is
getting increasingly depressing. Yes.
Yeah, getting too real, getting too sad.
Right, because every year that it creeps up, it gets more recent, and therefore
Yeah.
it feels a little bit closer to home.
The Korean War is the one that Principal Seymour Skinner fought in.
Yeah. My own grandfather fought in the Korean War.
Yeah.
I mean, and World War II.
Our first film that we're talking about is a film that we've talked about five times before in certain ways. 4 or 5 times before.
In a way. A story we've talked about.
A story as old as time.
Wait, that's a different one.
Whatever, man. It's Cinderella.
Yeah.
It's
the Disney one.
But the other Disney one.
The Disney animated one from the year 1950.
The Disney feature film Cinderella. Non-laughogram Cinderella.
Did we talk about a laughogram?
We did.
Okay.
We've covered Georges Méliès's Cinderella #1 from 1899.
The full title.
Georges Méliès's Cinderella #2 from, I think, 1911, maybe?
Sounds vaguely right, yeah.
We've got Lotte Reinecker and Disney's dueling Cinderellas adaptations of the same year. One much better than the other. And now the 5th Cinderella, I believe, that we've talked about, the feature film Cinderella.
And I mean, I would say this is generally considered like the definitive film version of Cinderella.
I suppose so.
There is also the Disney live action Kenneth Branagh film,
Which is one of the better live action Disney
I haven't
films.
seen it. I've heard it is one of the better ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This one, a classic Disney animated picture.
Yeah, this was not one of my Disney films that I saw as a kid. I was watching it for the first time for this.
I'm like 95% sure I saw it at some point as a kid, but it had been long enough where I was basically watching it fresh.
What do you think of this one?
It's kind of weird in some ways. My initial sort of pithy Letterboxd review of this movie was,
Give me the pith.
I like how this movie is about a bunch of cartoon mice, and then Cinderella's story just kind of happens in the background. And then I posted that to Letterboxd and then checked to see popular reviews or reviews from people that I follow. And there were multiples that were just like, this movie is 90% mice.
I mean, valid.
Which is hyperbolic. It is exaggerating. There's a lot of cat and mouse stuff in this movie.
You could say that this movie, the star of the movie, is the mice or whatever the mouse's name.
Yeah, it is kind of like the mice are like the POV of the movie almost.
But I kind of see that as a bad thing because it's sort of wasting my goddamn time,
Well, sure. Right. It somewhat feels like, I guess, that the actual narrative story of Cinderella wasn't quite enough to sustain a 70. How long is this movie?
It's
78 minutes.
I don't think it's even 78 minutes, or something like that. Maybe it is, but it's really short. And I was reading about it and how they were originally going to make it as a silly symphonies, and they thought that it was too big to be a silly symphony short. But this is also not enough story to fill out the whole movie, and it's a pretty short movie.
It's a pretty short movie, and right. I mean, percentage-wise, who's to say? But it does kind of feel like about 40% of this movie is wholly unrelated to the character of Cinderella and is just following the misadventures of the mice and cat that live in her house.
And you know, I'm sounding really negative on this movie. I liked it. It was fine.
It's a fun movie.
But like I think also that like the mouse stuff, it's pretty derivative. It feels like Tom and Jerry knockoff stuff, you know?
A little bit, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
a lot of the gags.
It's cat and mouse stuff.
It's cat and mouse stuff,
and it's not nearly as elaborate as most Tom and Jerry.
It's not. It feels not as good, you know, because they're doing Tom and Jerry style gags. They're with these cat and mouse stuff. It's not just that it's cat and mouse. They're doing like Tom and Jerry style gags with it, and it falls a little more flat and it's a little less zany than Tom and Jerry.
Which is funny that like the rest of the movie is not like that at all. Like the actual Cinderella narrative is like kind of
earnest.
It's not really ever played for comedy.
Right.
There's like musical numbers and there's songs in it.
Yeah.
It is a musical. Yeah, no, like tonally it feels very different than the cat and mouse stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't know. They're cute. It's like, you know, more Disney cute animal sidekicks, I guess.
None of it's bad, but you're right. It is sort of like, all right, we've seen this kind of thing before.
It's not as bad, but it's also kind of mid, you know? Like, I think there's a lot of other Disney movies that I'd rather watch than this one.
Yeah. I think this movie is like it is quite short. It is pleasant to sit through, I would say. And it looks very good. It has also been, I think this is like one of the more recently restored Disney animated movies.
Yeah, actually on the restoration. That's a good point. I got a Blu-ray of this and I started watching the Blu-ray and it looked like crap.
Whoa.
Like the Blu-ray, the HD version of this is kind of notable for being like DNR'd to hell.
Dang.
Everything looked kind of plasticky. And all the film grain was gone. It looked like it was like the film, like the colors were so chunky, like with the film grain taken out, that it almost looked like it was made in Flash or something like that. And so I started watching it and I was like, there's something really wrong here. And I switched to a more recent 4K restoration that kept some of the grain in, and it looked so much better.
I'm assuming that 4K restoration is what's on Disney Plus, which is how I watched it. It's an animated movie, so the film grain is not that present anyway. But like, there was definite you could see
still shot on film.
Brush strokes and such. Like there was I thought a good amount of texture.
That's good. Yeah, it probably is their new restoration.
Usually anything on streaming is usually the most recent restoration of something, which is not always a good thing.
You don't know about that, but yeah.
Right, not always, but that's, you know.
I would say avoid the Blu-ray and go for the 4K if you're going to have it physically, or maybe watch it on Disney Plus. It looked like weirdly sterile in the HD version.
I mean, that's, I think, one thing about restoring animated movies is like, I mean, I guess with any restoration is sort of like, what are you putting the emphasis on? Like, are you trying to get back to what something was intended to look like, or are you trying to get back to what, you know, the most accurate representation of whatever you're, you know, even accurate is like a loaded term.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on this.
All of which is to say, the version of it that I watched, I thought looked very nice. I thought the colors really popped. I thought the actual animation of it is like very lavish.
In parts, yeah. I think that watching this, I did not really remember how much like rotoscoping. Why am I complaining so much? How much rotoscoping is in?
Is rotoscoping a bad thing?
I don't like rotoscoping. Okay. No, like
it's definitely a.
I mean, it works in some context.
It's its own thing.
I think it like worked okay in Pinocchio because it was sort of supposed to be this otherworldly fairy or whatever. There's something uncanny about rotoscoping a lot of the time. And your main character in this is rotoscoped the entire time.
Yeah.
Like Disney animators used a lot of like live action reference footage.
I think most of the human characters in this are rotoscoped.
Well, not the more cartoony ones. Like the
Right.
king isn't rotoscoped,
Yeah.
you know? And I like that. I like that look. I like
Right,
the more...
that like style of animation is much more expressive.
It's what you
much
think of when
more
you think of
cartoony.
classic
Yeah.
Disney animation.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I will say the fairy godmother is not rotoscoped, or at least she doesn't look obviously rotoscoped. And I think the scene with the fairy godmother, I wish that she was in this movie more, because
It does kind of come out of nowhere.
it comes out of nowhere. But I'm not saying that as a complaint. I think that the fairy godmother is a great part of this movie. That scene has some really cool animation in it. What I really love is her wand, and how it's got this like slow trail of sparkles that follows behind it.
A lot of sparkles in this movie.
A lot of sparkles, very Disney magic. But yeah, it's like it's on a much longer delay than you would expect. And so she's moving at full speed, but then like these sparkles just hang in the air for like just long enough that it like feels very, very like it's just summoning magic into the air. It's a really good touch, I think. And the sparkles also have, you know, we're moving into the 1950s, and the sparkles almost have this like mid-century modern kind of starburst look to them.
Mid-century modern does love a sparkle or a starburst.
Right?
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun animation, the bibbidi bobbidi boo part. I also really like the carriage, and the way the carriage is kind of like, or like the pumpkin is turning into the carriage, and that transformation is really good. It's almost got like a bit of a fleshy Akira kind of thing going on. I don't think it's meant to be scary, but it's cool, smooth animation of like tendrils turning into wheels and all that.
Yeah, and like the animals being turned into other animals.
Yeah.
It is crazy that
Animorphs.
it's like, we need horses to draw this carriage. We have a horse, but we're gonna turn that horse into a person and turn the mice into horses.
That's just you gotta. That's like the levels, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like that. That was probably my biggest takeaway. Was just like this is very nicely animated.
Yeah, and the musical sequences too. The part where she's like scrubbing and like you see the bubbles and the cool kind of like reflections and everything like that. One of the things that my partner is not really a big fan of musicals, and something I was mentioning, she was like enjoying the musical animations in this, and something I was sort of mentioning that she thought was like an interesting way of kind of looking at musicals is that the idea of somebody breaking into song breaks reality enough that you can use it as an excuse to do much more daring, reality bending visual stuff.
Yeah.
And that's like something that musicals can get away with, having these like kind of non-literal sequences in them, that I think is, it's
something
a strength
something
of
that
the
I
medium.
wish more non-musical movies would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Cinderella, man. Like
Cinderella. It's Cinderella.
No, Cinderella Man is a different movie. Yeah, it's like the castle in this movie, I think is it kind of the model for the Disney castle?
I think that there's like different Disney castles and different Disney parks, and like there's one that's modeled after this one. There's another that's modeled after Sleeping Beauty or something like that. Like they're specific castles, I believe.
Yeah.
I gotta get a Disney adult on here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the new Cinderella, the 2015 one, I remember something that really stuck with me. We're talking about the horse turning into a man, and then like I think one of my favorite moments from that movie, it's like a little joke when that happens, and the horse turns into a guy. He lands in the seat, the driver's seat of the carriage, and he's just like, I can't drive, I'm a horse. I'm like, that's good. I like that.
Who plays the horse?
I don't know, some guy. I don't know.
All right. It's not like Steve Coogan or somebody.
Not that I know of.
Okay. Oh, I guess one other a thought that I had while watching this is that I was seeing a lot of crossover with a much later Disney animated movie, Aladdin. I think the design of the king is very similar to the design of the Sultan.
Yeah, he's like a
design.
Colonel Blimp version of the Sultan.
Sure, yeah. And even the kind of like general premise and kind of like the sort of central romance is kind of gender swapped from this movie, where there's like the wealthy child of the ruler who's sort of like, oh, my, I'm trapped in this gilded cage.
Yeah, except that this like Prince Valium ass guy is like so bland.
He's literally a non-character. I don't think he has any dialogue.
He does have the tiniest amount of dialogue.
Yeah, it is like he's almost an off-screen character.
He's no Princess Jasmine, I'll tell you that.
That's for damn sure. And then the sort of like plucky, poverty-stricken hero, who is Aladdin / Cinderella, who gets a magical makeover.
True.
So like Aladdin is like almost a remake of Cinderella in some ways.
He's a bit of a Cinderella man.
Yeah, there you go. And there's a sort of a vizier kind of esque character in this, but Jafar is very sinister. This guy is much more bumbling.
I mean, I guess we should also say that like we've covered Aladdin a couple times before. Also,
yeah,
and
true.
That I'm not sure which is the older story, but they come from different places.
Right.
So
yeah,
evokes the same things.
But this being a Disney production, I wonder how much they were sort of specifically looking at this in their sort of like character design and like thinking about. Oh, we got talking animals. Maybe it's a monkey this time.
I mean, even though we kind of ignored much of the recent Disney films in their kind of World War II and post-World War II flop era, this is considered to be the kind of golden age of Disney with the 9 old men, the great animators and who are doing their best work ever in these films. And so...
Ub Iwerks still credited on this movie?
Really?
I think so. I think I saw his name in there somewhere.
What? Why? He didn't have anything to do with Disney for years.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But I'm sure modern day Disney is kind of referencing back to this stuff all the time.
Oh yeah.
One other small thing that I wanted to mention is that like Cinderella has like during her makeover, she has like a weirdly 1950s style haircut. Like it feels like you can see the era that this was made in. Even though it's kind of trying to be this like timeless old-timey thing.
Yeah.
But like she sort of looked like a fashioned up 1950s lady.
Right. It takes place in Nutcracker times, but the way that she is styled does feel distinctly kind of early 50s.
I also didn't know that the song "So This Is Love" is from that. Like the "So This Is Love." It feels like it has like a bigger presence than this movie itself in a way. So at least slightly. I don't know.
Two things I thought of in regards to the stepmom character, particularly her character design. One, her hair looks like Bram Stoker's Dracula hair. The sort of 2 humps. To the degree where I was like, is Francis Ford Coppola, like, did Francis Ford Coppola base that Dracula look on the stepmother from this movie?
I could believe it, yeah.
And then and the other character I was reminded of was one of the main characters from the next movie on our list, Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard.
Good old Norma Desmond.
Yeah, I guess, we're supposed to be doing little plot summaries, right? Everyone knows what Cinderella is.
Cinderella.
We don't need to do Cinderella,
yeah.
But Sunset Boulevard is a film about it's a down on his luck like screenwriter who kind of bumbles into this kind of decrepit mansion of this person he finds out is someone who used to be a giant star in the silent film era and has kind of receded into her rich solitary life and has a bit of like a whole weird thing going on that we can talk about later. But eventually he just kind of becomes closer and closer ingrained into her life, and she kind of gets him under her thumb in a way. And it's about him sort of helping her out with her script that is supposed to be her comeback to the screen, and also her kind of growing control over him. Ending as with a framing ending of wrapping back to the beginning of him dead in a pool.
Yeah, what a way to open a movie is like the narrator, who is the screenwriter, is like, a story begins with a murder, and it's like we see the police showing up, and then it's like, that's me. I'm the dead guy.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
Basically, like, it doesn't say that line, but that's sort of how it is. But then it's...
Yeah, this was before record scratches, so it might have been...
100% not before record scratches. It's very much the era of record scratches, I would say.
A little, I don't know what would be the
Maybe
equivalent.
not
though?
the era of record scratches, because they weren't being used in songs, but
Yeah.
records were getting scratched.
Yeah. I will
Accidentally.
not buy this record. It is scratched.
But yeah, I love the opening, the way this movie opens.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just like there's that incredible shot of like from inside the pool, looking up at his floating corpse as like the police are photographing it.
Yeah. Billy Wilder, by the way, director who is responsible for that cool shot, I guess. Cinematographer as well, but you know.
Billy Wilder, good at his job.
Yeah. What to say about this movie?
I mean, I feel like there's a lot to say about this movie.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, it's like, oh, where to start?
Yeah. I was seeing a lot of these movies for the first time. You'd seen almost all of them before.
I've seen a lot of them for this year. Yeah.
This is definitely one of those big classics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, there's so much going on. I don't even know where to start with this.
Well, I mean, I guess a big part of this movie is the casting of
Gloria Swanson.
Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond, because Gloria Swanson was an actual star during the silent era and is now playing a sort of very dark, twisted version of herself. Of this like faded, bitter, silent movie star is like crazy wealthy, like absurdly wealthy in a way that like
kind of calling back to the sort of excesses of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And like she's living in like the shell of those excesses.
But it's like this movie feels so kind of built around that casting.
Yeah.
This character is certainly not the actual actress playing her, but is like the fact that they cast an actual silent film star is like the whole reason why this movie works.
And yeah, it is stunningly meta, right? Like so much of this movie, when you're watching it, you are being aware of the fact that like this is a real silent star. A lot of this movie is about like the kind of psychological position of somebody who was a star, then stopped being one for a while, but like is still kind of remembering that time, right? I mean, honestly, like it's for Gloria Swanson to take that role is pretty brave, you know.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's like in ways it's not flattering, but it is also referencing back to a lot of like the real struggles that a person like that might experience, especially a woman like that, you know.
Yeah.
But along the meta angle, like we also have Cecil B. DeMille in this movie playing himself.
Like literally playing himself.
Yeah, which is another really like there's so much like the fake world of this movie is so closely tied in with the real world of reality. You could just kind of think of Norma Desmond as a silent star that we just never heard of. And it could be real, you know? Because we have a Buster Keaton cameo in this. A jump scare Buster Keaton is how I felt when I feel like I read that he was in this before I saw it, and then when I saw him I was like, whoa.
I mean, it is kind of treated a little bit as like a surprise in the movie. It's like, hey, check it out, Buster Keaton.
I'm surprised that a guy who made movies that light would want to be in a movie this dark, you know.
I get the sense Buster Keaton had a bit of a dark streak. There's some dark jokes in his movies.
Yeah. And then, of course, Eric von Stroheim playing, like, her, like, butler, I guess.
Yeah. Manservant.
But he also is playing someone who used to be a director, which he also used to be.
Yeah. And who directed movies with Gloria Swanson.
And we see a clip from a film that Norma Desmond, quote unquote, was in, a silent film that her butler directed. And it was a film that Eric von Stroheim directed Gloria Swanson in. It is so wrapped up in reality in really interesting ways. And like we haven't seen a lot of stuff like be this, you know, postmodern, this meta, you know.
Yeah. It's also, I thought, I was kind of struck watching it. I think this comes from like, you know, hindsight looking back on history, but like, you know, we don't necessarily think of like the 20s and the 50s being as much like there being that much. It's like olden times.
Yeah.
Whereas like this movie really puts into perspective, like the 20s were a while ago.
Yeah.
And like
which thankfully, you know, doing this, we can kind of feel the
you can feel the actual length of time a bit better. But that I did think that was interesting how it is like this movie set when it came out in 1950, and it is like, oh yeah, silent movies. That's like so long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still recent enough in 1950 that it's in living memory. Like there are still silent movie stars that are alive and are not. Gloria Swanson is like, what, 50 something in this? She's not even that old.
Right. I mean, also, like, Lord of the Rings came out that long ago relative to now. You know, it's not like it's that far away.
Yeah, but it was, I think, watching it for this show, it made me kind of think of that. This movie's, I guess, sort of relationship with 1920s, like, silent movies, looking back on it.
Well, Singing in the Rain's coming up in a couple of years, and it's doing the same sort of thing, too.
It's the 30-year cycle.
Yeah.
Even though the character of Norman Desmond is pretty villainous, I think this movie has a lot of sympathy for the silent era, just kind of in general, and also because like Norma Desmond has so much dialogue. She's often complaining about like movies today are shit. Like back in the silent days, we made real movies. Like she has the line that I love, which is like, we didn't need words, we had faces. And then she makes a face, and it's like, yeah, like she's not wrong. And like there is something from watching all of the silent movies that we did, and now watching 50s movies. I'm like, yeah, there is something missing.
Yeah, it's a different art form for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Singing in the Rain is taking a more kind of comedic approach to the kinds of people who couldn't make the transition to sound, and this is taking a bit more of a tragic approach to it.
Also, yeah, just like what a performance Gloria Swanson gives.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the face that she makes, right?
She does a lot of. She's going big.
I think that's so interesting because
the character is performing and is a big performer.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you know, blending life and performance certainly, but also just like she was a silent star. What makes a silent star good is their ability to emote in a big way.
Their expressiveness.
Yeah, like without being able to use words. We didn't have words, we had faces. And so like her acting is really big and really dramatic in this, and she sticks out like a sore thumb amongst everybody else in this movie. People are like she's acting really weird, but she's like the kind of person that would make a good silent movie actor.
Also the kind of person who is this like slightly kind of gone to seed performer who's, you know, stuck in her glory days, and it is the character is performing in most scenes, right? Like she is being very, quotes, dramatic.
She is a celebrity. She is an actor.
Yeah,
and it kind of,
but it
is
like
acting with this, acting with this awareness of the performance that she has to do to, you know, continue on, basically. A lot of this movie concerns like these illusions that she has about the way that the world is, right? About like Cecil B. DeMille kind of having to like let her down easy because like she thinks that like, oh, I'm so cool and powerful, you know, that of course everyone's gonna love my comeback. And then you find out that like that her butler is the one like writing all of her fake fan letters, you know, that nobody cares anymore. She's like being propped up by all of this fakeness around her. Her mansion looks like it should have been lively, but like the pool like has nothing in it, you know? It's like everything's falling apart and decaying, and it's like, you know, reflecting what's going on in her. Yeah. But again, like there's a lot of sympathy that you have because I mean, there is a lot of overlap between like thematically between this movie and All About Eve, which we're going to talk about next. But like that, the biggest part of that thematic overlap is like how women are treated as they get older. In
specifically like in showbiz.
Yeah. And I think this movie's really like, you see how broken and sad she is. There are a couple points in this movie where she tries to kill herself, you know?
Yeah. And like, it's genuinely sad.
Yeah. She's not like an out and out villain.
No.
Like she's a person who manipulates and abuses other people, but she does it like you can see because out of like how hurt she is.
Yeah, she's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. The character exists in such a way in this movie where Gloria Swanson can give a like very heightened, expressive, silent movie-esque performance in a sound movie, and it doesn't feel out of place.
Yeah, although the people laughing in the screening that we were going to, I was like, I get that she's big. I get that she's going big, but like, it's not fully funny, you know?
It gets close. Like, there are...
I think it goes up to the line, but it doesn't necessarily cross it. I think it's a campiness that you can appreciate, but not like think that it's not, like, not take it seriously.
Because I feel like even
you know?
the main character is sort of... He's not laughing at her, but there is... You can see his sort of, like, amusement of, like, oh boy, this crazy lady.
Yeah. There's, like, a lot of, you know, modern psychological language that you could use to apply to her. I was kind of summing this movie up to people I was telling about it. It's just, like, the experience of having a BPD sugar mama, you know?
Not inaccurate.
And yeah, like, and I think that's like another angle of this, right, that we can kind of go into is the sugar mama part of it, where like she is exerting control. She finds somebody, she cycles through husbands, and she finds somebody who she wants to make her next one, and she recognizes that she has this like economic power over him, and you know, he kind of pretty quickly sort of hates his existence living in her house, having to like do everything exactly the way that she wants, but like she's providing for him, she's buying him all of these things he doesn't even want.
And he's broke. His car is getting repossessed. Like the only reason why they meet in the first place is because he pulls into her driveway to get away from the like repo men who are trying to take his car. And initially he's like, oh, this crazy lady, like is willing to like pay me money to rewrite her terrible script. Sure. He sort of thinks that he's taking advantage of her in the beginning, and then the sort of power dynamic starts to shift where it is like he starts to realize how much he is sort of like under her thrall, sort of.
And he gets stuck because she gets so emotionally involved with him before he even realizes how much she does, that like when he tries to leave, when he goes like, this is too much for me, I don't need to do this anymore, she attempts suicide. And like that compels him to come back again.
Yeah.
It's very, you know, it's not something that she's doing on purpose, but it's like manipulative, you know?
I would argue that she might be doing it on purpose.
I mean, I think she knows what she's doing, but I think that she just seems like a pretty like unstable and impulsive person.
Sure.
Who like, you know, she probably did want to kill herself, you know? But like, she also knew that if she tried... It wasn't
entirely manipulation. But,
she also knew that if she tried, then she might be able to reel him back in, you know?
Yeah, maybe not necessarily the first time that she's done that to someone.
I think, it pretty much says that it's not the first time.
Yeah. Right, yeah, I think Eric von Stroheim says that at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I think this movie also is like simultaneously kind of romantic about like the notion of Hollywood, and also like very, I don't know if cynical is really the right word, but it is like, this is very much a like Hollywood will fuck you up.
It'll chew you up and spit you out kind of thing. Yeah.
While still also retaining that like old, like it's funny to watch a movie from 1950 that's like old Hollywood.
Yeah. Don't you miss those times in the Damien Chazelle film Babylon?
Right, because I think isn't the like, not post credits, but the sort of like epilogue scene in Babylon set around 1950? Oh no, I guess that's set in 50 whatever when Singing in the Rain comes out. I like how the movie is simultaneously being like, movies are great, we love working in the picture biz, and also being like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because like the what's the main character's name? Right, is like he's trying to get work.
It's Joe Gills.
Trying to get work as a screenwriter, and it's just like no one's biting. He can't get steady work.
Joe Gillis.
Gillis.
Yeah. He's not a fish.
It's like, can't get steady work in the film biz. Don't know what that feels like.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Now we need a sad movie about a projectionist.
Yeah. both of the it exists in sort of both camps simultaneously of like sort of, I mean, kind of in a similar way, I guess, to Babylon, in that it is
A lot of Hollywood stories, I
right.
feel
Because
like. Right?
But I think that's just kind of a universal kind of like artist's perspective on Hollywood is sort of
Yeah.
like when it's great, damn, what a place, what a community, all
High
that
highs,
stuff.
low lows. Kind
Yeah,
of thing.
but like, dang, the like corruption and the sort of like corporate, like money grubbing, like controlling business side of it is like has always kind of been soul crushing.
And this movie also like highlights that there are some people who really thrive in this system, or at least got lucky and thrive. Like Cecil B. DeMille. I think he's like such an interesting parallel character to Norma Desmond, because he's someone who successfully went from the silent era to the sound to now, and he's like, everyone thinks he's a big deal, everyone loves him, and like he has some sympathy for her. He used to make movies with her, right? But like he was somebody who had to leave the old era and everybody else with him behind, and he's just a slicked up Hollywood guy now in a way, you know? It's also like not a super sympathetic look at him.
Yeah.
Um,
Right, because he's the one, I guess Buster Keaton, he's never named, but it's like, it's a kind of assumed that he's playing himself. Whereas Cecil B. DeMille is just, he's playing exactly himself.
yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like a self-deprecating performance, but it is.
It's complex, but
Yeah.
it's like, it's not like lionizing, you know? I mean, it is like, maybe this is exactly what kind of needed to exist in a person to be able to, you know, continue to be in Hollywood, right? To thrive in Hollywood, you have to be a certain Hollywood type, and somebody who flames out and, you know, is like a diva, you know, or like in the kind of operatic sense,
Yeah.
like is someone who maybe has a big moment and then falls again. But to be able to like persist in Hollywood, you need to be Cecil B. DeMille, whatever that implies,
Yeah.
I guess.
The scene where she goes to the Paramount lot and visits DeMille on set, and it's like all the people who work on the back lot are like, oh, Norma Desmond's here. Great. Like,
Yeah.
love that gal.
Yeah.
So it is like she's remembered well. She seemingly has like a good reputation with the crew, which is a good sign.
But she doesn't want to be. She doesn't
But
want to
right,
be
like-
a memory, right?
Right, but like,
she wants
but
to.
still, no one is willing to like make her terrible movie that she wants
Yeah.
to make as a comeback.
I mean, she refuses to go gracefully, I guess.
Right, because it is also, she's like, I have written this script by myself that is like the greatest thing ever written, and it's gonna be my big comeback. And like every single time another character looks at it, they're like, ooh, yikes! Like, this is a bad. But yeah, it is like no one is really willing to just like say that to her face,
Right.
which is also kind of like where her sort of like monstrousness comes from. I think is that it's like no one is willing to sort of like tell her the truth. Like she is kind of being her own like perception of herself is somewhat being mirrored back by everyone around her, especially the von Stroheim character.
Yeah,
is
who
like,
kind of like he's her ex-husband,
yeah,
and like he exists. His life has become
keeping her in a fantasy.
Exactly. Yeah. He like everything that he does is to keep her in her fantasy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, like he still loves her and he wants to, you know, he doesn't have the heart. Either he doesn't have the heart to let her face reality. He's seen what happens when she faces reality, or like he believes in her in a way that like other people don't. I guess.
Yeah.
And is willing to kind of lie in order to like outwardly just manufacture things to help her ego stay alive, basically.
Even as she's being arrested for murder.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm gonna direct the newsreel cameras and like make it seem like a movie set.
Yeah, and like then she just has like a full break with reality.
Right.
At the
That's
end
like
there.
I think post murdering of what's his Gillis.
Yeah.
Right. It's you get the sense like her brain is toast. Like at that point. Like she is completely has like a psychotic break where she is like fully living in the delusion of like, I am a movie star. Everyone loves me.
I'm a star.
Everywhere I go is a film set.
Yeah. It's a wild ending. It's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, super famous
ending.
Yeah.
That was the thing where I'm like, I was a little bit seeing it with an audience. I was like, okay, like this is funny, but it's also sad and it's also kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like there were some people in the audience who were appreciating it as camp, you know?
I mean, I think this movie has, I don't know if I like know enough about the concept of camp to like really speak to this movie's relationship with it. Because I think there's a lot to say there probably. Yeah, I do think of this movie mostly, even though it is very funny, I would certainly lump it in as a noir movie. I think it usually is considered as such. And yeah, it has like horror vibes at times for sure, of like the sort of like, the like decaying mansion, the sort of empty.
She is a bit of a vampire, right?
Yeah, she's like very Dracula-esque throughout the whole thing, which I don't think is like unintentional.
She sucks the blood out of young men and then moves on to the next one.
All true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, like that last moment, obviously we're talking about like, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
As he's given, the crazy eyes. The big
crazy eyes
eyes
right at the camera, right? Like that's another...
Again, an excuse for the movie to be like, you're performing this last line direct to camera. But it's like, because we've set up, there are cameras filming her, it works.
Yeah, we've set up so in a way it's maybe hopping in diegetically into one of those cameras, right? Yeah. But also, like, there's so much meta stuff in this movie with Cecil B. DeMille playing himself and all that. Like, it just kind of slots right in with her, like, looking right at the camera, right? And, like, what happens when someone's looking at the camera? I mean, there's a bit of, like, we're talking to you audience, you know?
So, breaking the fourth wall a bit.
Yeah, which, like, there's one aspect of her looking right at the camera that is just implying how crazy she is. Maybe she's even so crazy that she's broken the fourth wall, you know? But also, like, maybe there's, like, a slight implication.
She's seeing the non-diegetic camera because she's so...
right. She's entered a new plane.
Exactly.
But, like, maybe there's a bit of an implication to the audience of, like, you, the consumer, you've sucked the blood of all of these people and made them.
You did this. You made me this way.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know if it's doing it that hard, but I feel like there's like
I think that's in there.
There's like a bit of an angle of it, of like, so much of this movie is about like celebrity, about like the idea of celebrity, and the movie ends with her like mind breaking and addressing the audience of people who are the people who make someone a celebrity.
Think regardless of how this movie sort of feels about Hollywood, I think it is very critical of the idea of celebrity. I think it is very like, celebrity as like a thing is bad.
I mean, you could consider the movie to say that like celebrity is the thing that broke her.
Yes. Yeah. What a good movie.
Yeah.
There's also like, there is definitely I think this movie, one of the reasons why it's so good is because it has so much layers and it's got so much going on thematically, and it's also just like very well written, great casting, performances, yada yada yada. I think something we haven't really touched on is like I think this movie also feels like it is about a sort of like generational shift. There was kind of the idea of like old Hollywood, and there's this like the youth, right? And like Joe Gillis and the sort of he's like going to like Hollywood parties where everyone's young, and it has much more of a kind of like, it's the 50s, young people. We're in showbiz too.
Our bridge tournaments.
Well, no one's playing bridge anymore. It's the 50s. They're
drinking malts and going to the diner.
Exactly. But like, there's some of that in there too, which I think is again, I don't know necessarily how much I had to say about that, or like what the movie's trying to say about it necessarily, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe I don't have a thesis there.
Well, I mean, I think there's the difference in generational outlooks that is kind of being reflected also in the difference between sound and silent film, and like the way of being of those different people. Age is definitely a thing that this has on its mind in a very big way, and I think also of like through much of the second half of the movie, she's under a false assumption that Cecil B. DeMille read her script, likes it, and wants to make her movie. And so she's like going through this like regimen of like making herself young, you know, with like plastic surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother kind of can of worms that this movie opens. And this movie has like so much sympathy for like, you know, women who, not just Hollywood will chew you up and spit you out as a generic thing, but like Hollywood does not give a shit about women once they're over like a certain age, right? And like the only way that you can matter is to be young. And her mind is broken enough that she's just like, I must become young, you know?
Right. That's her reaction to it.
Yeah.
You get the sense, if Norma Desmond was not as delusional, she probably could still have a thriving career in the pictures if her ego would get out of the way.
And yeah, I mean, I think that sort of, unless you have anything else on this, sort of transitions us into All About Eve.
Yeah.
Which is another movie.
Weirdly has a lot of crossover with this movie. A
lot of crossover.
Yeah.
Both of these movies, I think, are primarily about what showbiz does to women who get older.
Yes.
Where All About Eve is almost like a bit more of a, you know, perverse version of that because she's just like 40 in the movie, right?
That's what I mean. Like, Gloria Swanson, I think, was in her 50s when this movie came out. Which, right now, you're like, all right, fine. Like, that's not that old. I don't think
it's still
of it
a problem in Hollywood,
right? No,
right?
For
like,
sure.
That's the thing is, it's like these movies were made 75 years ago.
Yeah.
But like,
also, I mean, yeah, people aged quicker.
It's from going to the mines and all that.
Yeah, exactly. But everyone smoked. You know, it was just like.
But it's not just that. It's like, you know, there's all these charts that you can look at right now of like leading men with their romantic interests.
Yes.
The romantic, you know, the people who were supposed to play their love interest.
Yeah.
And like the kind of age gap and like how the men in Hollywood are allowed to keep getting older and the women just kind of top out at 40 basically. And like you have like 75-year-olds with like a 38-year-old love interest or whatever. It's like these movies are speaking to something that still exists. It's not like the problem ever really got fixed.
No, never did. Yeah. Still, I mean, it's probably
this just in, sexism still exists.
Yeah, marginally maybe less of a problem than it was in 1950. Because I certainly don't think of someone who's in their 50s as like ancient, but like I'm sure a lot of casting directors do.
Sure. I mean, you know, I think Meryl Streep is somebody who is almost kind of notable for being someone who was able to allowed to age. Like a woman who was allowed to age in Hollywood, you know.
I think All About Eve is a little less. What was her name? Margot Channing, I think, is, I mean, certainly much less monstrous.
Yeah, I think these are two different perspectives on it.
Yeah, like I think Sons of Boulevard is like taking that idea and like running really far in one direction with it. Whereas this is, I think All About Eve is a much more sort of like nuanced, sort of grounded approach to that same concept.
Sunset Boulevard is heightened melodrama a la silent films. All About Eve is a kind of more grounded sort of thing, with more sort of human and less insane and grandiose sort of stuff going on.
Yeah, like Margot Channing she acknowledges that she is aging, and she is aging out of the kind of roles that she is kind of known for playing on stage. But she's still working. She's still in play. She's still a celebrated actor who's like selling out shows, headlining.
I mean, All About Eve, and like, you know, Margot Channing's role, like situation in it is like almost a woman who is at.
They almost have like
she's at a crossroads.
Yes.
That like it's her at the crossroads where she can kind of go in the direction of Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard, or she can choose a different way. Right.
Norma Desmond has already gone through the crossroads and stuck firmly to, no, I will remain young forever.
Yeah.
Because I am a vampire. Whereas, Margot is sort of at that crossroads in this movie, and by the end of it decides, I'm just not going to play the same characters anymore. I'm going to.
But
maybe...
she struggles with it.
Of course,
she struggles with it because it's.
Yeah, they're like
because
opposing. Like the characters take like opposing paths.
Yeah. She struggles with it. I mean, I think it's interesting putting her at the crossroads because she's having to directly during the movie grapple with the types of things that we're kind of picking up from subtext in Sunset Boulevard. She's having to confront not just like her as an individual aging, but like her relationship as a woman to the industry that she's in while aging. Yeah. Which is a whole other can of worms. And that's Betty Davis, another kind of, Betty Davis I think was 43 when she played this. But like it's another role that it's like, it's like it's another thing that almost like you are an actor who is well known and is getting older. And like if you're an actor playing an actor,
it's going to be a self-referential to some degree. There's going to be some level of
dude playing another dude.
Yeah.
I think but it's going to reach into your soul.
I think All About Eve doesn't feel as like directly metatextual as Sunset Boulevard.
Definitely not. Especially because All About Eve is about Broadway and not about Hollywood.
This isn't a play about acting. It's a movie.
Although it used to be a play.
Yeah, which I think kind of it isn't necessarily a show, but it's I guess
it became a play. Never mind.
Yeah, like I think All About Eve is a very good movie. It feels very writerly to me, in that it is very well written, but it is like all of the emphasis of this story is on like writing and performance. Yeah. Which is not to say the movie is like badly directed or doesn't look good or anything, but it's like compared to I think a lot of the other movies that we watched for this year, it feels the most stage adjacent. Yeah. Which also maybe it's about Broadway, so it makes sense. So All About Eve opens with this like big, fancy awards ceremony for a young actress named Eve who's getting this like very prestigious acting award. And then we flash back indeterminate amount of time to Eve being someone who's like waiting outside the stage door of a theater, who's just like, who, me? I just want to see the actors. And Karen, who's married to the playwright who's written this, big Broadway smash, is like, you're here literally every night. Come inside. Yeah. Like no one else is hanging out here after every single show. Yeah. And she's like, well, I don't want to be an imposition. I don't want to bother anybody. She's like, come on, just like come backstage. And she like meets everyone.
What a mistake.
Yeah, he meets everyone and it's like, very like sheepish, and they're all like, no, like tell us your story. And she gives this very heartbreaking story of having been married, but her husband was a pilot in World War II and so died, and she was kind of left with nothing, and then just started seeing Margot on the stage and like became so kind of enamored with the power of her performance that she's just been following this show from San Francisco to New York, and has gone to every single performance, and is just like the biggest fan. And they're all like, cool, like, you want to hang out?
And at first, like, Margot sort of has like like her guard up a little bit. She's just like, oh, fan, like I don't want to talk to that person, But
it is like, after she hears this story, everyone is like, oh man. Not only I think that they feel bad for her, but they're like, oh, she's a genuine person. She's not just like
little do they know.
Yeah. Right. And so then like pretty quickly, Margot sort of like lets Eve into her life just as her sort of like assistant. Mm-hmm. She's like helping out around the house, and just slowly but surely, Eve starts to just be more and more central to Margot's life, up until slightly sneakily becoming her understudy on the show.
With some sympathetic assistance from Karen.
Yeah. It's like all this stuff where it's like, she's not directly asking for any of this, but it's sort of suspicious how much she's sort of drawing attention to herself, while all the while being like, oh, me, like no one look at me, like I'm nothing. Yeah. Until she sort of supplants Margot as the lead of the show, because she's like much younger, she's like very traditionally pretty looking, And everyone's like, oh man, as an actor, she's incredible. It's so raw, such a good performance. And as this is happening, Margot more and more is sort of like, this gal is no good.
Yeah.
And then by like the back half of the movie is like full on, like Eve is actively like trying to seduce Margot's husband. She is like manipulating everyone around her. And then very close to the end of the movie, it is revealed that her entire sob story is made up. She never even lived in San Francisco. She was never married. Her name isn't Eve. It's Gertrude. Gasp. And by doing all this manipulating, somewhat kind of like pushed away all the people that she had made friends with along the way, except for this sort of very snooty theater critic that she is sort of...
Who's also kind of similarly cutthroat.
Also similarly cutthroat, and then he kind of gives her an ultimatum like, you have to stay with me. I own you, because if you try to leave me, I'll tell everyone that you're a con artist, basically. And then, right, the end of the movie is Eve having, sort of gained everything she wanted, but at what cost? Comes back to her apartment, and there's this even younger woman in there who's like, oh, me? I just came in here because the door was open. Like, I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah,
And
I'm the head of the fan club at my high school.
Right, and it's like, the cycle begins anew.
Yeah.
But also, right, like, Margot, meanwhile, she's been, like, fighting with Eve for most of the movie. Of, like, she's taken my roles, she's trying to take my life in a very sort of, like, Tom Ripley-esque way. She's, like, trying to kind of become Margot.
Yeah, she starts
her
putting
idol.
She starts putting on her clothes.
Yeah,
and she starts like wearing a wig that's more like her because of the play.
And then like Margot is like, "Fuck this! I'm rich. I have a great marriage. Why don't I just kind of like just live my life?"
She is at that crossroads, and she chooses to age gracefully.
Yeah,
right. There's a moment in the movie where Karen recognizes the con artist that Eve is, and kind of...
There's the bit where Eve is trying to get Karen to convince her husband, the playwright, to give her the role. And her mask kind of starts to slip. And Karen is like, oh, you're a psycho.
Yeah. And she puts Karen in this weird situation, and there's like this threat similar to the one that gets put on Eve by the critic of like, I'm going to tell Margot that you helped me supplant her if you don't suggest to your husband that I should be in the play. And there's this whole thing of it's just like, we know Margot wants the part and she doesn't want to give it to Eve. Yeah. But then Margot kind of just is suddenly like, you know what? Let Eve take it. I don't care anymore, And it's just like, woo, got out of that situation, The situation that Margot is in through this movie is like an interesting foil to Sunset Boulevard. It's definitely like a bit of a deep impact Armageddon situation for 1950.
I don't know if they're like quite that like one-to-one, but thematically there is a lot of crossover for sure.
Oh, you were talking about like the writerly parts of this movie, and like the script is just very snappy. It's very snappy
written
script.
And directed by Joseph Mankiewicz. Brother,
the other Mank,
brother of Herman, right? Or exactly, the other Mank. We can still call him Mank. I guess maybe Joe didn't actually use Mank as a nickname, but you can't have two Manks running around Hollywood. Two Manks don't make a right.
But two Manks make a lot of movies.
Yeah, and like the dialogue in this movie is great. It's not super like lingo heavy the way that I think a lot of other like 40s 50s movies can be.
But it's like full of a bunch of lines that make you go like, ooh.
Yeah, like ooh, that's a good line. Yeah.
I mean, I think one thing that I was kind of remarking on while I was watching this is just like everybody's being really bitchy to each other.
Very bitchy movie. Yeah. Yeah, the amount of like people talking about each other behind each other's backs and sort of like insults that are getting hurled in sneaky ways and like bitchiness for lack of a better term is quite strong.
I mean like I think that a lot of people really love like this is one of those beloved by gays movies, and like it's I think because it's bitchy and about Broadway. And also like Betty Davis and all that. There's like a whole thing going on, but this is not specifically related to bitchiness, cattiness, or whatever. But I was reading that like about other actresses that were considered for Eve, and there was another one who was going to be Daryl Zanuck's choice for Eve, and Mankiewicz said, like, rejected her because he said that she lacked the bitch virtuosity. And I'm like, you know what? Like, that's kind of what you need for that character.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'll like, yeah, well said, and that was the correct choice.
Yeah.
Because I do think who actually plays Eve?
Anne Baxter.
Anne Baxter, I think, is very good in this movie in that she is genuinely believable as the sort of like incredibly sort of modest, like, nobody look at me.
Yeah.
Like I'm embarrassed to be here. I'm taking up too much space in the 1 inch of the corner that I'm in.
And then she switches.
And it's that switch where you're like, oh my God, like this woman is a psychopath.
Yeah. There's that moment where she has her friend like call Karen's husband to say like Eve is distraught. She's crying. She's like, everything's horrible. You need to go and check on her. And then like, as soon as she hangs up the phone, the camera moves over to Eve and you see her just like smiling and sitting on the staircase, like, my master plan is coming together.
But it's like, even Eve, who I think is probably the most like, is one of the more antagonistic characters in this movie, is treated as just a human.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's never like, oh, right. She doesn't murder anyone. Like, there's a degree to which I think this movie almost is restrained from like melodrama.
Yeah.
That I think is really,
makes
it play a lot stronger.
Like, she does bad things unrepentantly.
Yeah.
And calculatedly, but also like she does like want, I don't know, like even these people that she's kind of like screwing over, she wants to be their friend still, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think.
No, I do. Yeah.
And like, you know, it goes back to that awards scene at the beginning where she's like saying thank you to all of these people that she stepped on the way to
that
like,
she's been lying to and
yeah, and then like, you know, she just greets them after she's done. They're all just like, fuck you, Eve. Like, yeah.
Addison, the critic, is like, he's just a huge piece of shit, like through and through.
he's like cynical about the world, and it has like allowed him to become that way.
There's the bit at the end where he kind of gives Eve the ultimatum, and he says, "We deserve each other." As he's like, you know, telling her all this stuff, like, "You belong to me, I own you," and then she's crying. He's like, "I don't understand." He's like, "You're pitiful, and yet I'm attracted to you." And he's like, "We're both monsters. I guess we deserve to like end up together."
Critics.
Yeah. I mean, that feels like that is kind of part of this movie. It's like, who is the most monstrous character? The critic.
It stinks.
Eve kind of uses him as a means to an end.
And he's like,
to sort of like,
I saw through your act the whole time, and now I'm using you too.
Well, right, because he's the one person that actually like follows up on her backstory and is like, that whole thing was a lie. Your entire identity is invented. I think that sort of the way that a lot of the characters in this movie do really mean, nasty, spiteful things, and yet all feel very human, is one thing I was very kind of, one of my big takeaways.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like, Addison is probably the closest thing the movie has to like a villain, but even he's just like an asshole. Like, you know, like he's not a good person.
Yeah.
And I think, the way that this movie is able to sort of like have these lots of different characters all sort of like be mad at each other and like be doing nasty things to each other at certain points. And then by the end of it, it's like the chips have all fallen in a way where you're like, I'm satisfied where everyone ended up.
True.
Even though a lot of them still aren't happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people got what they deserved, and some people like found a way to move into the situation that they're in at the end of the movie and be at peace with it.
Yeah. Well, like, because there's a period in the movie where Margot starts being really nasty to Eve, where you're just like, Margot, geez, like, calm down. Like, how, like, you hired her, like, you invited her into your life, and now you're just like pissed at her for like being younger than you.
Right. But then she kind of gets over it.
She kind of gets over it, and then Eve is revealed to be a lying psychopath.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, all right, I guess, maybe Eve had a point to be nasty to her.
It's interesting to see Margot's process through the movie, you know? Like, she's, like, when we're talking about, like, the crossroads that she's at, and it's like, you're watching her have to confront all of these feelings that are being brought up by people kind of, her realizing and people sort of telling her that she's getting too old. And, like, it's a whole nother question of whether that is a valid thing. Like, is she too old to play, like, young characters? Like, maybe, but, like, is she too old to exist? Like, everything wants her to say to her. She has to recognize that is not true, but, like, that is the world that she's living in also. I was watching this with a friend yesterday. She had apparently seen the stage version of Sunset Boulevard, and she was like, this really reminded me of, she was watching All About Eve, and she was like, this really reminded me of this play that I saw, and I was like, was it Sunset Boulevard?
Incredible.
And the other thing that she said, which is one other kind of spare little note about this movie, is she saw this, like, random background character and was like, whoa, she's really hot. And I was like, that's Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe, who I think is really funny in this movie.
Yeah, she's good.
I haven't seen, this might actually be the only Marilyn Monroe movie that I've seen. I think I've seen, like, assorted scenes from some others, but, like, and this is not, I don't think this is her first movie role. She gets, like, funny stuff to do. Kind of playing maybe a somewhat exaggerated version of herself, of a kind of maybe ditzy blonde wannabe actor who is quickly, like, discarded by, like, the theater elites.
Right.
She's auditioning for the play that the whole story revolves around and doesn't get it. And then Addison, who's sort of, like, is shepherding her career, I was like, oh, you can audition for television. And she goes, oh, there are auditions for television? And he goes, television's nothing but auditions. Which is, like, a really mean way of describing TV.
Yeah. Like, it was interesting seeing that. Like, that the showbiz, or, I mean, this is a movie, this is set in Broadway world, but also being made by Hollywood people. And there's a lot of, like, shit talking that it does about Hollywood too in this movie, which I think is like coming from the perspective of stage people or whatever. Now that we're beginning to see the kind of, like, existential threat of television to the movies, we're getting to see movies take little pot shots at TV, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah. All About Eve somewhat concerns people having differing perspectives on things.
Yeah.
Like, secrets being revealed and being like, see, like, that's not what happened. Actually, what happened is this.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
And what movie is more famous for that sort of thing than Akira Kurosawa's film, Rashomon?
I don't remember Rashomon being like that.
This entire segment talking about this movie is us just going to both be going, I remember it being a little different.
I'll give you the rough summary this time. You can tell me if it's and then you can give your own version of it. There's a couple people who huddle up in this temple. I think the temple itself is called Rashomon.
Yeah.
It's like a rainstorm, and they just look haunted. And there is a guy who walks up and is like, why do you guys look so haunted? And they're like, let me tell you our horrible story. And so 3 days ago, this farmer, I think,
a woodsman.
He's got an axe.
There you go.
He tells about how he happened upon a dead body while he was in the woods searching for wood. And he ran back and told the police. And then there was a big kind of trial where he was called to testify to see what happened with the body. And there's also a priest there, like a monk. And he was the last one to see the guy alive. So he's called as well. The two of them are here in the temple. And first the woodsman tells a story. Then the monk tells a story. And then they're like, well, then it turns out that a lot of other people had their own kind of versions of what happened. And then we get a bit more detail about like what the actual event was, rather than these two things about like what happened after the event.
Mm-hmm.
So we hear what happened initially, and it's kind of there's a bunch of different versions of what happened. It's Rashomon, that's the idea behind it. So the movie is like a process of sort of like trying to untangle what the truth is, as we hear the testimony of all of these other people who had their own perspectives on this event that happened that led to this death.
Mm-hmm.
And you start realizing that all of these people who are telling these stories of what happened are changing things a little bit in order to start saving face,
Mm-hmm.
or to make themselves look good, or like not look bad, or to look good
Mm-hmm.
in this scenario. But like vaguely, the things that probably happened are that there was this bandit that was played by Toshiro Mifune, who saw a woman riding on a horse with her husband, like a samurai, and he was like, I thought she looked like a goddess or something. And then this is where like all the stories start kind of getting mixed up about exactly the process here. But basically, he raped her and did something with her husband, and there's a bunch of different versions about what happened.
The husband is dead. We know that.
And the husband is the one that's dead. And now the bandit has a story, the wife has a story, a psychic medium who is speaking for the dead man has a story, and then the woodsman amends his story.
Right.
Because he was like, I didn't want to get involved, but actually I saw the whole thing. I didn't arrive afterward. And so you have like basically 4 versions of this event that all do not corroborate with each other, but they're all clearly involving lies. And,
right. They don't. They all contradict each other somewhat, and it's always whoever's telling the story is sort of trying to make themselves look better in each of them.
Yeah.
Although I'd seen this movie before, one of my big thoughts while watching it this time was like the stories aren't as different as I remember them being. Like they are the actual like sequence of events is more or less the same in all of them. Like there's variation and like like who killed the husband is a question that changes
And how
in each
and
of
why.
Right. Yeah. But it's usually like the why that changes, and it's mostly like the different perspectives are about sort of like how someone said something versus what was said, which I think is this movie is remembered and is famous for. It's like these are like conflicting stories of the same event. It's like everyone's perspective is different.
Yeah.
And it's like I was like, oh, they're like not as different as I even remember them being. It's like it's the differences are more subtle.
I mean, and I think that like across all of
they're not
different...
like completely different stories each time.
Yeah. Like across all of the different stories and the kind of like what's going on with the framing narrative is that like maybe the fact that everybody's lying about this and looking out for themselves when somebody died or was killed or was raped is speaking to some rot of the human soul, you know, where like maybe these people shouldn't be lying and maybe we should just be like, you know, like
right. It's sort of implied that all 4 versions of the story are
somewhat not true.
Yes,
yeah.
are all being filtered through that individual sort of like lies. Like all of them are subtly shifting things or leaving things out or changing stuff. But it's much less of a like full outright lies, and it's more, I don't know. Yeah, the differences were more subtle than I guess I had remembered them being.
Yeah, and so it's less about
my own memory was inaccurate.
It's less about what practically happened and more about like more trying to color how people should feel about it, and in particular like how a group of people who's going to decide whether or not you are put in jail or executed or whatever is going to feel about it. And like even the bandit, when he's testifying, he doesn't say, I didn't kill the guy. He's like, I did kill the guy.
The bandit fully is like, yes, I am a rapist and a murderer, but like...
But I'm a cool one.
Exactly. It was like, I was doing it for cool reasons.
Yeah.
Which I also think is like, right, that's kind of the first big scenario that we play out, is the bandit's version of events. And it is striking that the bandit isn't really denying any of it.
Yeah. Which is why, like, it really feels like he's trying to myth make about himself.
Right.
Basically.
He's sort of trying to make it... Yeah, I mean, he is kind of trying to make it seem, not that he's like a good person, but that it's like, that he committed a really sort of like impressive crime, I guess. Like,
yeah, and also like there's like an honor aspect to it.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
Like a lot of these characters, including, there's this one that we never really get a direct point of view on, which is the guy that died, right? Like, the guy that died, we could take it at face value that he's speaking completely accurately through the medium.
Assuming that he is actually speaking through the medium.
Yeah.
Which I think the movie more or less is sort of like, that's our best guess. Like, it doesn't really try to seed that much like doubt into like, maybe this medium has their own agenda that they're trying to get across.
Right, but it's like another, it's another filtration on top of what may or may not be true. Like, it is the words of, like, even if it's straightforwardly correct that the guy who was died was speaking precise words through the medium's mouth, like, it's still being said by another person.
Yeah.
And not just that, the medium's words are being relayed by these other two, like, narrators to this other guy in the temple.
We're like 4 layers of narration deep.
And now we're talking about it. And
don't believe what we say about this movie. You have to watch it yourself.
Yeah. And so, like, there's like another, it's like, because there's so much unreliable narrators happening in this movie, like, I think it's trying to get you to think specifically about the stories themselves. Yeah. But then you also, like, it makes you think, like, okay, but it's like these same people who have already lied about stuff who are relaying the lies that everybody else told,
I think kind of the thesis of this movie is every narrator is unreliable because it's always going to be filtered through that person's perspective and thoughts. And yeah, it's just like how you tell a story matters.
And when you say how you tell a story, right? Like, how you tell a story matters in terms of, like, your guilt, I suppose. But, like, but also, like, there's, it's a movie. It is telling a lie for you, And there's a point where the person in the temple they're telling this the story to, he says, I don't care if it's a lie as long as it's entertaining. And it's just like, cinema, baby.
Movies! Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a reason why... I think especially filmmakers love this movie so much because it's about like the nature of...
It's a movie about making movies.
It's a movie about the nature of stories and storytelling.
Yeah. I think that interestingly though, it's kind of a movie about true stories, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like, yes, it's an entertaining lie, like is a way that you could phrase a fiction story, but like really what this movie is about is like the troubles of documentary filmmaking or like biography filmmaking.
Right. Well, it's about sort of like the fluidity of like the truth.
Yeah.
Of like the truth being like a single point.
Yeah.
And it's like
except that there is a truth. There is a real truth
that we never see.
It's not like
theoretically.
Yeah, maybe none of this happened.
but I mean, because like the movie is framed in such a way that the woodsman's version of the story is sort of kind of presented as the most likely or the closest to the truth. Yeah. In that no one looks good in his version of the story.
Right. He tells a fake version that makes himself look good. And then he gets so kind of discouraged about
his
the
fake
world.
Version is he came to the crime totally after the fact and then ran and told people about it.
Yeah.
And didn't watch it occur.
And then he talks after he relays to this guy in the temple afterward like an updated version that might still have some lies in it, but like crucially all of these people's version of the truth is not necessarily making themselves look good, but it's making them look good from their own perspective. It's a bunch of kind of messed up people who have messed up perspectives.
The bandit story is like he doesn't look good in that story, but he is trying to like tell it in a way that like is aggrandizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's notable, I guess. I mean, I think what story is true is a bit of a like, did the Inception top stop spinning question?
Yeah. No, like the point of the
Uh,
movie is that there is no answer
Yeah.
to like which one is true.
But you're correct that like the one where someone is willing to tell a story where they don't look good in their own eyes is probably the more likely, closer to true one.
Right.
But yeah, it's like talking about the troubles in general of portraying the truth.
Yeah, but also like that the truth is always going to be filtered through a perspective. If someone is telling a story, multiple people can observe a single event and tell a different story of that event, even though the event was the same.
And I mean, in particular,
people can
like,
watch the same movie and come away with very different ideas about it.
Yeah. In particular,
Movie
like,
didn't change.
Like in the context of this movie, about criminal justice. There might not have been studies about this kind of thing then, but we know that like eyewitness testimony now is very, very flawed, because people are constantly rewriting their own memories in their head, and like very critical details about crimes end up often being things that people just imagined and remember as memories.
Yeah. The fact that this movie is framed as a like crime investigation does feel very kind of pointed, that it's like, this is not necessarily like a problem with, I mean, it is a problem with crime solving, but it's like, I mean, also just, it's like the highest stakes version of this kind of narrative structure, I guess, right? Of like, something very bad happened. Who's responsible? We need to find the truth about this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, good luck.
Yeah.
There is no truth. What is truth?
What is truth?
Yeah.
The movie begins with these two characters being so haunted by what happened. But like, they're like, somebody died. And the guy goes like, people die all the time. Who cares? One person died. They're like, no, this one's especially bad. And it kind of seems like it's not even that they think that murder is especially bad. It's just that they're so shaken at the lack of consensus reality. And that's what's upsetting them so much.
Right, yeah. And the priest in particular is sort of like, I don't want to believe that like all people inherently lie. That's just like a universal truth.
Or is it?
Right.
But yeah, the movie ends with them discovering a kind of random crying baby that has been there the whole time, that is in the temple. And like, it's like a moment for everybody to confront the fact that here's another moral conundrum that happens right now.
Yeah.
We've explored how bad the human soul can get. Now, what do you do with a crying baby?
Yeah. Right. And then sort of like, one guy is like, how dare the parents abandon this baby? Another guy is like, we don't know. Like, they left this like protection charm with the baby. Like, we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
We don't know who left this baby here. Maybe this baby was saved from a horrible fate by leaving it here. And so, yeah, there is a sort of like wrap up micro. Yeah. Like,
it's like, maybe there's hope after all, because the woodsman says, I have 6 kids. A 7th isn't going to be too bad. I'll take the baby.
And again, it's like, we don't see his home life. We're assuming he's telling the truth.
True, yeah.
I mean, I think the way the movie ends, I don't think the movie's leaning that far into the ambiguity there.
Yeah.
I think that the movie does make an attempt to end on a hopeful note, I think, while still, having a lot of dialogue about like the depravity of humanity.
Yeah.
The priest at one point says, I don't want this place to be hell. And I'm like,
yeah.
Don't know what that feels like.
When they're first talking about Rashomon, the temple, or like the town that it's in, I guess, they mention how like they're like, this temple like used to be haunted by like a demon, but then the demon left because the people in this town were so bad.
I'm like, I buy it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I think this movie is kind of so well known and well liked. It's very creative use of like a narrative. It's just like, it's not, Kurosawa didn't write the initial story this is based on, but like that, the kind of structure of it, of like, here is an event and we're going to see subtly different contradictory perspectives of that thing from different people. I mean, that's been in other things. That's like a recurring, not really a trope, but like an idea in storytelling, I think.
You do a Rashomon.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Rashomon situation. We don't know what happened.
I mean, I think this movie's interesting. It brings up a lot of interesting ideas. I always this is my second time seeing it, and it's been 13 years since I watched it previously. And I looked at my Letterboxd rating from 13 years ago.
Oh boy!
And I didn't rate it very highly, and I didn't remember too much of the plot coming back in, and I sort of felt 3.5 out of 5 about this again this time because I think that it's trying to be ideas first, and the way that it presents them, it does inspire thought, but it presents them, I think, a little clunkily. And I think more crucial to me, I found it really hard to feel like emotionally invested in anything that was happening because it's so like about ideas and so slippery as to what's actually happening. Like, even though there's like really dark stuff that happens, you don't actually directly see any of it. And so like, I don't know, like I felt a little distant from this movie last time and this time. It's hard for me to like a movie if I feel distant from it.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
And so yeah, I think it's like, personally, I think Rashomon is like more of an interesting concept than a movie that I like a lot.
Right. And I do think the concepts that this movie is playing with are the best thing about it. I do think the performances in it are very good because
Toshiro
they're like
Mifune is the goat.
Especially him because he's playing the biggest character. He's playing the bandit, so he gets to just be insane the whole time. But it's like
which is where he's good.
Well, it's also funny that the last movie we watched from him, he was the like clean cut, fresh faced detective.
I know.
And now he's in like not full Mifune like samurai garb, but he's like his hair is long. He's got the beard. He's got the crazy eyes. He's sweaty the whole time. He's just like yelling and like, yeah.
He's hooting like Daffy Duck at points. It's
it's also interesting. Like, we'll see more of his Kurosawa movies going up, but like this movie to Seven Samurai, where he's playing kind of his mannerisms he's still like scruffy and sweaty, but he's more heroic in that movie.
But he's like
a bit. Yojimbo, he's like a lot more. He's still scruffy, but he's like more refined a little bit.
I guess so, yeah. But like,
he's quieter.
When we saw Stray Dog, I was like, this is not the Mifune I know, you know?
Right,
like,
yeah. It feels really, really different.
I feel like Mifune's really in his element when he's greasy.
Sure, yes. Greasy Mifune is the best. For sure.
And I love greasy Mifune.
Yeah. And this is probably him possibly at his greasiest, his most unsavory, probably.
Right.
But yeah, it's like the subtle shifts in performance between each of the different narratives or the different stories being told. I think is really like all the three actors. I don't know the other two's names. Right? They're oftentimes saying the same dialogue, playing the same scenes out, but like in different ways. And I think that it is just a nice showcase for their performances.
Yeah.
Being able to play the same scene multiple times and then like adjust it a little bit.
Yeah, I think especially Machiko Kyo, who is the wife, like she gets a lot to do.
Yeah.
And gets to like
she might have like the biggest like shifts
range.
In like how she's playing the scene.
Yeah. Like what her role is the one that like changes the most, and she does well with all of it for sure.
Yeah, pretty good movie. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this has got a lot of great just Kurosawa stuff in it. Just like every shot feels like perfectly framed.
Yeah. I like that, like, during the courtroom scenes, the woodcutter and the monk are just kind of hanging out in the background the whole time.
Yeah, but it's like cool that they're in the same shot still.
Yeah,
and like we still see them. The use of weather is like a big Kurosawa thing. Like Kurosawa loves some rain, and this is a very, very rainy movie. The possibly low Letterboxd rating of this movie might also be a thing where it's like, I think this is a very good movie. In my like Kurosawa rankings, it's probably not even my top 5.
Yeah. It's an interesting movie, but like like you talk about movies that like grab you emotionally, and like Seven Samurai, you know, you're just like
movies that are just like a 10-course meal.
Yeah. And like, you know, this is exploring a single idea, but I watched Ron recently, and like
Never seen that one.
that one just covers like so many
Right.
kind of like interesting
Yeah.
human condition
This
things.
is not an
And it's-
epic the way that a lot of other Kurosawa movies are epics.
Yeah.
This is like very tight. Like it's focused on like this one thing, this one idea, and sort of extrapolating out from that. Yeah, I love the concept of this movie so much, and I love how the movie is very happy being as, like, I think you said slippery before. It's like it's very comfortable not giving you clear answers to everything, and even kind of questioning the idea of like, can a clear answer exist even? Like, are humans just inherently too
Self-serving,
but also just like, everyone lies to themselves. Everyone just has inherent bias, I guess.
yeah.
I like how much the movie is willing to like commit to that idea.
Another movie about things that may or may not be imagined
Nice segue.
is Harvey.
A weird movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
I say that as if some of the other movies we watched for this episode aren't very, very weird.
Mm-hmm.
This one, this movie confused the hell out of me.
I think it's a fun time.
Not in terms of like what happens, but just in terms
Yeah.
of like what am I?
What's going on here?
What's going on here? Yeah.
You want to sum it up?
This was, I think, the one movie that we watched for this episode that I had never seen before. Like in
I've seen it twice
in
before.
pieces or anything. Like I
Yeah.
went to this. I knew the concept, which is Jimmy Stewart is a small town guy who is best friends with an invisible 6'3.5" talking rabbit, anthropomorphic rabbit that only he can see, seemingly, and everyone else in town is like thinks he's a kook, but he's just really pleasant. He's just sort of like
he's so nice,
right. He's just
so
super
that-
nice, but
very
everyone
generous.
is like, this is a problem. His sister and niece are like trying to get him committed. Psychiatrists are kind of trying to like figure out what's going on with him. I guess, would you call this it's framed as a comedy.
Yeah, it's got like a lot of screwball elements to it.
It does, which I actually feel like maybe is part of my problems with it. But
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
walking a fine line.
It's just, yeah, it's not weird in like the things that happen, but it's weird, I guess, in just its tone. I feel like its tone is a little maybe off. But yeah, it's the Jimmy Stewart Invisible Rabbit movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think?
I mean, I quite like this movie. I do understand what you're talking about with like the tonal issues, and I think that like
I went into this movie hot too. I was like, oh man, I can't wait to finally watch Harvey. Like this is, another sort of very well known.
I think it's always just like worked for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like, the tonal issues come from like the kind of seriousness and sadness of like certain elements of it.
So I mean, one thing about
like,
this is
mixed with like it not really treating them very seriously, I think.
yeah, the Jimmy Stewart character is not really the like audience POV character.
Mm-hmm.
Elwood is his name, and it's
Elwood P. Dow.
Yeah, we're most
take my business card.
Oh yeah, my business card right here.
Don't use that number. That's the old number. Use this number.
We're mostly seeing this guy through the perspective of the people around him, like his sister, the doctors. It's like it's mostly other characters interacting with him.
Crucially, you don't see the rabbit.
Yes.
Through the whole story, it's kind of unclear how crazy he is,
I would say through most of the story, the movie is, through the language of the movie is positing that, yes, he is delusional. There is no rabbit.
But, like, it's always like they're, like, you almost, like, want to believe that he's right,
Sure, yeah.
And then the movie, it had a really big choice to make about whether or not it confirms that he is, it is real. And it turns out that the rabbit is real.
Yeah.
It's a puka.
Or at least,
which,
according to, like, the language of the movie.
Well, no, there's, like, doors that open. Like,
sure,
like
that's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, the door's opening, but, like, we never see the rabbit. Right, it's never like 100% like boom.
We see
the rabbit is here. He's speaking to another character.
He does speak to another character,
but
another
we
character
who
might have gone crazy also.
Right, there's
but like the movie.
There's just enough ambiguity in there that you could still.
Well, the movie confirms that the rabbit is real because it doesn't show the rabbit, but it shows the effects of an invisible thing that is interacting with
Yeah.
the physical world.
Yeah.
And that is the confirmation that the movie gives you. And it like vindicates Elwood a whole lot in this movie.
Certainly.
That like, you know, yeah, there's, even though he's seeing a real invisible rabbit, there is still something a little kooky about him in that he doesn't recognize that everyone thinks that he's out of his mind.
Yeah.
He's just like, have you met my friend?
He never acknowledges that no one else can see Harvey,
Yeah.
the titular rabbit.
But he like always speaks for the rabbit. He's like, he says this, you know?
Right, yeah.
Which like, it seems like there's a bit of a delusion going on even while he's talking to a real rabbit.
Harvey may be an actual rabbit spirit, and Elwood might also be a little kooky.
The relationship that this movie has to, I don't know, the psychology industry, I think is an interesting thing. Like there are
It is interesting.
Like that's along the lines of the tonal stuff, because like there are elements of this movie that if they were played differently and maybe played in a way that's a bit more honest, like they would almost be like horrific, you know?
Yeah.
It is like people getting put in institutions against their will, or like the people who run asylums being really cruel and uncaring and rough to the people who they're trying to help, quote unquote, you know? The doctors are not sympathetic.
Dude, the doctors in this movie are insanely terrible at their jobs. Like, beyond the fact that this movie is kind of supposed to be like a wacky comedy in places, the ineptitude of the medical professionals in this movie is crazy.
But not just ineptitude, but like evil, basically.
Yeah.
You know? It is only through, you know, we're not looking at it through Elwood's eyes, but we are with Elwood, who is this really like just kind, happy-go-lucky person who like even in bad situations, he's just like, I'm happy wherever I am, you know? Like if my sister feels better about living, like is embarrassed of me being around, and so she wants to have me committed.
Yeah.
I guess that's okay, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm happy, you know? And so we're able to see these like kind of villainous doctors through his eyes, where he's just like, you two are in love, aren't you? Shouldn't you two get together even though you're so mean to this other person? You know?
But I think that's sort of part of my problem with this movie, is that it's like, it's kind of like everything works out in the end. And I'm like, the psychiatrist and the nurse do kind of end up together. And I'm like, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's a bad couple.
Yeah.
You know, like the sister does sort of have a change of heart by the end of the movie, but is so, what I thought, cruel to her brother throughout most of the movie.
She is. And I think it's only
but in a way that the movie doesn't almost seem to recognize.
I mean, I think that it may be, the movie is making a choice to force all of this to be funny, right?
Yeah.
It's stuff that like...
And it's not working for me.
I think it works. I think it works. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable at points, but I think that it's funny and light enough with these dark subjects that I think it's able to just like let you kind of put aside their darkness to enjoy the comedy. But I can kind of understand why.
Right, it's because it's like a movie I thought about while watching this one was Arsenic and Old Lace.
Yeah,
definitively my favorite movie of the 1940s, according to the last episode. And that movie deals with a delusional character, Teddy, who believes he's Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah,
and everyone's just kind of fine with it, and everyone's just like, call him Teddy. Like even the criminals are like very quick to like, they start calling the basement Panama. And that movie I think is incredibly dark. Like the subject matter of that movie is like murder, mental delusion, poisoning, torture, corpses, and yet that movie is so funny and so light on its feet and silly. And I feel like this movie just doesn't thread that needle of like being funny but also having dark subject matter.
I think that like it is just funny enough for me to put the dark subject to like not have the dark subject matter taint it for me. But yeah, I think it totally makes sense that it would for many people.
I mean, right. I wonder if had Frank Capra directed this movie, if it would have been the same movie but better. Like this feels like it is
It has Capra.
It is going for a Capra-esque
Yeah.
tone,
especially
and
with
style.
like the kind of earnestness of
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart's character.
Right. And the sort of the way the movie ends with like, he's not hurting anybody. Just let him go on just being nice and going to the bar and like buying people drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggled with this one, which I was surprised by. I thought I would be really on board with it because I'm like, it's the Jimmy Stewart Invisible Rabbit movie.
Mm-hmm.
The casualness with which all the doctors call their patients psychos. Oh yeah, I gotta go to work and deal with all those psychos. It's like, you are a mental health professional, sir. And some of that is the fact this movie is from 1950, that it's just like the general sort of understanding and approach to mental health was not the same as it is now. It was much more cruel.
But also,
I
think the movie is like
the movie is very
have fun with them being cruel, because I don't think the movie ever really thinks that doctor is a good person, you know?
No, but it never lets him off the hook, though. It does let him off the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, he treats the nurse so terribly. There's a moment where he like tries to get her to like seduce Elwood. He's like, use your feminine wiles or whatever. And it's like, you are her boss, sir. Again, like, it's the 50s. You know, I get that things were worse back then.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that kind of thing that is like being played for laughs, where I was just like, this just feels gross. The orderly who is like constantly manhandling people, which again is like,
he's so aggressive. He grabs his blackjack with like,
right, he grabs a blackjack,
no hesitation.
Which like, right, the movie is both acknowledging that like this guy he shouldn't be doing that. This is bad.
Yeah.
But also is sort of like, isn't he a scamp?
Yeah.
There's like just a shocking, maybe not shocking, but an uncomfortable amount of like sexual harassment in this movie.
Yeah. But like, yes, there's a lot of bad stuff in this movie, but also there's a lot of fun in it too. Yeah. Like, it is watching Jimmy Stewart in this role. He's very charming.
He is very good. Like that, I no complaints.
And like he's playing this kind of like lovable dope that like really is just like, hey everybody, like, this is my best friend. Yeah. He's a rabbit.
He's like,
you'll love him.
Aggressively wholesome.
Yeah.
And he also, the way he like talks, like he kind of knows something that no one else knows a little bit.
Because he's like, I am like, not even in like a kind of egotistical way. He's just like, I'm on another level than everybody else because I have my best friend. Yeah. You know?
He's achieved enlightenment by being friends with Harvey.
Yeah. He's just like I am so happy and so peaceful, and I'm willing to look past all of these people being cruel to me because I love my best friend so much.
It is physically impossible to piss this guy off. He will take everything in the best possible way.
And it's nice. It's nice to watch him do that. Yeah. And I feel like that is sort of what is able to get me over the hump of the uncomfortable stuff in the movie.
Right, because he has a line towards the end where it's like, you can either be clever or pleasant or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I decided to just be pleasant.
Yeah. And like, that is really him just kind of summing up his perspective, you know? Yeah.
It does kind of make me wonder if there's a read of this movie of like, oh, this guy discovered like psychedelics and is now just nice all the time. Like, maybe Elwood is just stoned all the time.
Interesting.
And then that's, you know, now he's just pleasant to be around.
I mean, I think another kind of alternative read of this movie
actually
is that
he's drunk all the time, which is
sort of an implication.
Yes, that is like a direct implication that this movie makes, I think.
I think that another kind of maybe subtextual kind of thing going on is the thing that he has to hide from everybody. His male friend that he loves so much, you know, him needing, like, people wanting to commit him to an institution for it.
Being embarrassed to have him at their tea party.
Yes.
For old rich ladies.
There's a point in the movie where his sister says he never married. He lived with his mother his whole life, you know?
Yeah.
I wrote this down. I think it was Elwood that said that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This was the there's just other gay stuff in this movie, which is where when the doctor is convincing the nurse to seduce Elwood, he says, "Give him the eyes, the swish, the works. I'm immune to it, but there must be someone here it works on." You know? It's like
that's that's the guy that the like girl is supposed to end up with at the end of the movie. Like that guy sucks.
Yeah. But like,
and clearly has like contempt for her.
But I think that like the gay reading of this movie is like an interesting reading. You know?
I think that makes the movie more interesting. I think like reading it as a movie about a gay man that everyone has a problem with.
He's happy.
And
gay,
then everyone else kind of learns that it's like he's fine. Everyone else is just mad at him for no reason.
Exactly. There are some people who accept him, even though he's not like the way that everybody, ought to be, quote unquote. And there are some people who just can't get over something that they don't really have any good reason for having a problem with it, Because
I think like I do think that makes it a better movie. One, because viewing the movie purely as metaphor gets rid of a lot of the kind of just clunky kind of storytelling bits of like, oh, they don't want him like hanging around while they're having their fancy dinner parties.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just tell them like, hey, this is my brother Elwood. He's a little kooky. He thinks he's friends with a rabbit. Just go with it.
Yeah, his family's ashamed of him.
Yeah, they're like, he can't be in the house.
Yeah.
Like, we can't be seen with him.
Yeah, and like they're ruining our social status.
Yeah.
He's ruining our social status
by
just existing.
We need to put him we need to commit him so that we can have our dinner parties still. Which is it's just like the casual cruelness, I guess, of this movie is kind of what. Yeah. But also, especially in the 50s, like a lot of casual cruelty towards gay people.
Exactly.
So I do think that does kind of make the movie better.
Yeah. But like also, there are still issues with it. It's kind of too long, and it's kind of repetitive. Like there's just like there's a lot of
kind of similar to Cinderella. It feels like they had this much movie and they were like, this isn't enough. We gotta come up with some other stuff to put in
Which
here.
Which is weird because like they could have just trimmed it down. Like it's an hour and 50 minutes. Like they could have cut 20 minutes out of this movie and it would have been much leaner and much better, I think. I mean, I know it's kind of a recurring bit, but like there are so many times where he's just introducing himself to people over and over again. It's to show what a nice guy he is, right? Every single random person that he encounters and like I think another kind of notable thing about him is that he's from a rich family and his sister and niece like want to kind of keep that status of richness, and they're like, he keeps inviting like drifters and random people from bars over, and like he has no care for social status, right?
Yeah, literally every single character he meets, he's like, come have a drink with me.
Yeah, he's just like, I want to be your wow, what's your life like? I want to be your friend. Do you want to come over for dinner? And they're just like,
no.
They're like he's like, do you want to come over for dinner? And they're being polite and they're like, oh yeah, like maybe, sure. And he's just like, when?
Right.
Like,
which I will say,
you're coming over to have dinner.
Like, I do think when people make social plans, that is a good instinct to have, because I feel like there's it's like, oh, like we'll get dinner sometime. Then it's like never happens.
Yeah.
Elwood knows. He's like, no, when? Like, let's pick a day now.
He's just like, everyone I meet is going to be my friend, but none of them are going to be as good of a friend as Harvey, my 6'3.5" rabbit friend.
Which I like the thing of he's 6'3.5" because he's constantly looking up at Harvey, and Jimmy Stewart is 6'3", so he has to be at least that much taller.
I didn't realize that. I guess maybe then you're not counting the ears, because then he'd be looking at the ears.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do the ears count? They can't. Yeah.
There's a point in the movie where you see a painting.
Right. Yeah, that's the closest we get. Is there's he gets a portrait made of him and Harvey.
It's lovely. It's just a little cuddly Bugs Bunny looking guy that he got his arm around him, and he has this I don't know. There's this like painting of their grandmother or something like that, some kind of family institution of their richness, and he like brings it into the house. And he's just like, nah. And he just puts his picture of him and his rabbit in
much
front
better.
of it.
Good choice. Yeah. Right. He mentions Harvey being a puka, which is explained in the movie by the orderly reading from like the encyclopedia.
And he's got a good like old time, like, hey, a puka.
Yeah.
Reading a puka, like a puka's a spirit from that can appear in different forms.
Yeah. A puka is according to Wikipedia anyway, is primarily from, I think, Celtic folklore. Although there's a lot of crossover with other folklore, and is a shape-shifting, sort of mischievous spirit that often appears as lots of different animals, including a rabbit. But the way that it is described in Wikipedia is it's sort of like, it's not really that far off from like a puck or a goblin. It's right. It's like a mischievous spirit that will, sometimes it'll help you and sometimes it'll mess with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that is like a weird thing to like drop into this movie, that it is like, Harvey isn't just a thing that exists in this guy's head. Like
he's like a specific ethnic creature.
Right. Harvey is an established like folkloric entity.
It's interesting too that it's like kind of like it's not like one of the big name ones, you know?
Right, but it's like it's not that far off from saying that like Harvey is a demon.
Right.
Like that's not even a bad read of this movie.
Imp. Let's call him an imp.
But I mean, like even like, you know, demon in like Christian theology has like a very negative context, whereas I think a lot of like pagan or non-Christian religions have mischievous spirits and things where it's like, yeah, this is part of life, man. They're around. They'll throw you in a lake.
But yeah, Harvey's never really cruel to anyone.
No, but by all means, Harvey does seem like only has the best intentions.
Yeah, but Harvey, there's a point where the kind of guy in charge of the mental institution has a similar break with reality and is able to start seeing Harvey. And like Harvey's nice enough to him, and he's like, but then he asks Harvey to like use his powers to what is it?
Almost like visit
himself in the past or something.
Yeah.
Right. But then like, you know, Elwood kind of leaves the two of them to hang out with each other, and then Harvey leaves and apparently tells Elwood like, nah, like it's you and me. Like,
yeah,
you know?
I ditched this guy. I see why this movie made an impact, certainly, because it is very strange and there's not really a whole lot else like it. But yeah, it's tonal weirdness didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that leads us to our final film.
Speaking of movies that you know, can play fast and loose with reality and perceptions of such,
Orpheus,
directed by Jean Cocteau, who we watched his Beauty and the Beast film a few episodes ago.
This is a remake of Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah, I mean, this is ostensibly an adaptation of the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, which it does adapt, but the full narrative of the myth takes place over like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
like it really expands upon it, and it really is using that myth sort of as a jumping off point for this crazy story about the afterlife and love and art and French stuff.
Yeah,
the nature of consciousness.
Yeah. So it's Orpheus and Eurydice, the story.
Yeah. But set sort of vaguely in contemporary France.
Yeah.
There is I forget if it's like text or narration at the beginning. Because subtitles, I remember them just being text.
Narration.
Yeah.
It's just like Beauty and the Beast. It's got like
it has a disclaimer being like, this is
a movie.
Well, it's like, it says, this is a legend. A legend is entitled to be beyond time and space. So similarly, it is sort of like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Which I love.
A lot of like,
that his approach, but also just the fact that there is a like disclaimer at the beginning. You're like,
these Cocteau movies are just like they just start off with a narrator going like, this is what kind of movie this is.
Yes, which I think is good. You know,
yeah,
it's priming people for what they're about to see. And yeah, so Orpheus is a poet. Sometimes he's a musician,
like a world famous poet.
Yeah, he's like the famous poet. Orpheus,
that has like Beatlemania, like people running after
but it's like, I love how he has the like youthful like French poetry community is like, Orpheus is here. He read the new Orpheus poem. And then there's a little bit of playful satirical ribbing of maybe the poetry scene by someone holds up a book full of blank pages, and they go, this is the new trend in poetry is nudism, where it's just blank pages.
That was so funny. Yeah, like,
and Orpheus is like, that's nonsense, and he goes, is it more nonsensical than a book full of like nonsensical poems or something?
Yeah. This movie is so powerfully French.
It is.
With
this is like
all of the
powerfully French.
like existential musing in this movie.
A lot of existential musing, a lot of cigarettes, a lot of this is about
a lot of being mean to your wife and
being mean, falling in love with death and having death fall in love with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is great.
Yeah, this movie's really good.
This movie rules, I think. That's why it's like I feel bad sort of like complaining about Harvey, but like Harvey is a weird movie. I'm like, this is the weirdest movie and I love it for it.
So here's the thing, right? Like I think that there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I think that one could, I don't, but one could say like this is like kind of up its own butt, like artsy fartsy stuff. Like it's just being abstract and weird and it's not doing anything. But like I think it is though. I think like
I agree.
There's a lot of stuff in this movie that is kind of experimental and kind of like
it's a very dreamy movie.
I was thinking about Maya Deren while I was watching this. But I think that like kind of crucial to something compared to something like a Maya Deren thing or like the like Un Chien Andalou or like L'Age d'Or that we saw, like this, all of this stuff is like locked onto a narrative where I think it like centers the kind of abstraction and it feels like it works, it feels like it makes sense. And I think that like it prevents it from feeling like this loose and slippery abstraction by having it be, narratively bound.
Which I think basing it on a Greek myth that has like very clear like emotional stakes helps that.
Yeah.
And also Greek myths are the kind of thing where it's like they're never realistic, but they always make emotional sense.
And I think that a Greek myth not being realistic and but still making emotional sense, it creates a really interesting juxtaposition with putting it in contemporary real life France, right?
Which I think the movie is also like having a lot of fun with.
Yeah, like there's a lot of weirdness and heightenedness that Greek myth has that you can just go like, these are just mythology and stories in the past, right? And then when you put it in like a modern day context, it feels so heightened and wild and crazy, and it feels appropriate to use these kind of like strange filmmaking techniques because like the Orpheus story, as big as it is, doesn't work. Like it doesn't just easily slot into real life, right? Like you need to have something heightened, like because it is heightened. And so it's just like a kind of interesting like the ways that these kind of like heightened crazy other worlds are interacting with like the normal world that we live in.
Yeah. The first time I saw this movie in college at Duchess, as part of the world film class that I took there. We watched this movie of Orpheus. We also watched the Brazilian movie Black Orpheus from, I forget which year that is. I want to say it's 60 something, which is also very good. We should watch that when we get there. As sort of like, here are two different movies from different countries that are based on the same Greek myth, taking very wildly different approaches to it. Because like Black Orpheus is very grounded and is like probably the closest, other than Portrait of a Lady on Fire, of like telling the story in like real world context. Whereas this movie is like not remotely interested in telling a real world story,
and I love it for it.
Exactly. But like watching this movie for the first time when I was like 18. If that, I was like, oh my, like, it was kind of a movie where I was like, I didn't realize movies were allowed to be like this.
That's awesome.
And nice. I was like so blown away by it. I was like, oh my God, this is like, I don't even know what to compare this to. And it is sort of sat in the back of my head of like, oh yeah, the Cocktail Orpheus, great movie. Super. But I hadn't actually rewatched it until we did for this show. And I was so thankful and thrilled that it was like better than I remembered it being. I was like, yes, this movie's so good.
Yeah.
Also, for taking that class, I won't say what it was because I don't want anyone to steal it, but part of the thing in that class was coming up with your own take on the Orpheus Eurydice story, which, maybe someday I'll make that. But
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
But yeah, like I think there's just so much like cool stuff in this movie, and it's like using film language in very like interesting ways, right? I feel like we haven't seen.
It doesn't feel like it's doing it just for the hell of it.
No,
it feels very deliberate.
Yeah, but it feels like this is like the kind of like using film language stuff that we haven't really seen much of since the silent era. You know, like it's like we haven't, you know, it hasn't been since the 20s really that we've seen something that is like being so visually experimental for a narrative purpose. And the stuff that this movie does is like so cool. It's so vibey, you know. It's like it's very like interesting imagery, and it's doing like just like stuff that is. I think the thing is, it's like it's using like kind of unreal abstract imagery to portray an unreal world. Right? Yeah. Like this movie, a lot of this movie is like going back and forth between this like afterlife realm and the real world.
Right, because kind of the real world as it's portrayed in the movie is portrayed realistically.
Yeah.
Everything
that's just like when there's magical powers are happening.
Everything that's weird has to do with the sort of emissaries of the afterlife who are sort of entering the real world. And so all of the supernatural stuff is portrayed through like weird. Keep saying weird. I'm gonna be more descriptive than that, but just like playing something in reverse happens a lot in this movie. That's sort of I feel like a Cocteau thing that he just likes.
And it's people like something magical and strange happening when something happens.
But it's like it's not just something gets reversed. It's like there's like magical gloves that you put on to go through a mirror. Mirrors are the entrances and exits to the afterlife.
Cool. Very cool.
Great. A lot of great mirror shit in this movie.
Yes.
Including like putting on the gloves, which is the first time you see one of the times you see it is the film is played in reverse. So the gloves look like they're like latching themselves onto his hands, which is great. And then there's a shot of him walking towards a POV shot of him walking towards the mirror.
Yeah, you have the gloves in like extreme out of focus close up.
Yeah.
And then or not close up, but like next to the
camera. In the foreground.
And then it's moving toward the mirror.
But there's no camera in the mirror. Oh.
And so you're seeing Orpheus walk toward the camera, and then they meet where the mirror would be, and then the hands in front of the camera touch his hands, so you're looking at him from the other side of the mirror.
Again,
it's so cool.
Much like in Beauty and the Beast, super simple effect, like running the film backwards and also like making a fake mirror frame and having the actor walk towards camera to meet the hands, so it looks like he's walking towards the mirror and seeing his own reflection. But like super effective, right? That mirror gag is in like Terminator 2 and like all so many things do.
It's in Marx Brothers.
Exactly. And then like the shot of the hands going through the mirror, which I have to assume is like Mercury, just like putting hands into Mercury. So it looks like the shimmering reflective surface of the hands going through the mirror.
Yeah, so he's like going through the mirror into the spirit world or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you see him slowly walking in. They do so much like with like getting these like close-ups of him going through the mirror, and it's like the hand going into Mercury, and then like it cuts to like another shot where
the mirror is like translucent glass and there's someone on the other side of it. It's like that is the thing.
It's selling it really well.
A thing that Cocteau, I think, does in Beauty and the Beast also, and does probably even more effectively here, is it's like, this is basically one effect, in quotes, of a guy walks through a mirror. And it's every single shot of this is a different technique that is being used. Right?
And it's like merging them
some
all
of it's
together
backwards, some of it's forwards, some of it's a plain sheet of glass that he's on the other side of, some of it's this thing. And so the cumulative effect of that is it's sort of like of course we watch it now, we know what all the things are. Yeah. So like it's a little easier to spot.
Yeah, it's like I was like I can see what's happening at every point here, but also it's really cool.
But it's like that there is the cumulative effect of doing 4 effects to achieve the same end result is a lot better because it's like
specific shot scenarios too, right? It's like showing the same thing from multiple angles and using multiple devices, multiple like effects that are suited to the specific angle that you're seeing it from. But it makes the thing blend from shot to shot.
That's like part of the like cleverness and part of the like artfulness that I miss from like more in-camera effects. Like if you to do everything. Not, CG artists are good at the job. I don't want to, denounce computer effects too much, but like only doing computer effects. I miss the sort of like the combination of all these different things creating the overall. Like I think about like the Thing, the John Carpenter movie does that, where it's like every shot you see of the Thing is like a different puppet, but because we're seeing it a little bit different each time, it feels like it's this like amorphous shape-shifting thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is an example of something else that does this. I don't think it does it poorly, but it's like another kind of instance of this effect using CGI, which is, I mean, I think one of the most iconic things from this movie is that that like moving in through the mirror.
I mean, that's in a different John Carpenter movie. He does the same thing.
What thing?
In Prince of Darkness, I think there's also a like hand going through a mirror Mercury shot.
Well, what I'm talking about specifically is that mirror shot, which like you can see in The Matrix in particular,
definitely,
and Stargate, kind of, having like a wiggly mirror, a wiggly like surface, a wiggly shiny surface that is
walking
like a
through
portal
walking
to another
through a
world.
Vertical
water,
like liquid, sort of
it's
barrier.
So it's so otherworldly. It's so like transfixing. And like it really feels like. I mean, I think The Matrix is making very deliberate reference to this, like in that sticky mirror scene.
Sticky mirror, and also it is the scene where he goes through the mirror in this movie is very similar to the one in The Matrix. Of like he is of course, in The Matrix it's flipped where he's exiting the fake world and the real one, blah blah. But I actually had not thought of that. Whereas like that probably is a direct reference or like influence from this movie.
Hey, The Matrix is a movie that just
it wears its influences on its for sure. There's a lot of stuff in this that I'm like, oh, that's yep, I know who will use that later. Like there's the bit which I know you reacted very strongly to, of them walking along a wall and then like sliding down the rest of the wall.
Yeah, that was the one that I could not figure out how they did that.
Right, which is, I think it's just, we're seeing it from the top down, and like the slidey part of the wall is a ramp, and they're just sort of like pretending to be walking when they're actually kind of like crawling.
They really sell it because there's a person sitting on a window.
Yeah, exactly. They totally sell it. He's just sitting looking straight up. That like exact type of effect is in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Coppola one, where Keanu Reeves like slides down part of a wall in the same way, which I had forgotten is just like very directly lifted from this movie.
There's another really cool part too, like another like just so many interesting effects that, and the thing is like they all feed the narrative. Like we're talking about like how cool all this
we're getting
stuff
very
is.
technical, whereas like the actual movie does have like characters and stakes and things that are the main focus.
There's a part where he's kind of first entering the afterlife world, and this chauffeur who kind of is kind of getting to be involved in their business.
Hurtubise,
the
ghost chauffeur.
A bit of a Karen kind of situation. I don't know like how specifically that if Karen is in Orpheus and Eurydice. I know there's a lot of crossover with all those.
Okay.
But
I guess that's
he's a transporter through the.
Oh, he's a transporter.
But there's a part where like, what's his name?
Hurtubise
is leading Orpheus through this kind of like through this transitional space into the other world,
which is shot in like old ruins.
Yeah, Orpheus is walking behind Hurtubise, and he is in a rear projection. So Hurtubise is like in front, and there's wind blowing on him, and because he's like this, he's a person who died a long time ago and then was like sort of conscripted into this role.
Sort of implied that everyone who like works in the afterlife is someone who has died and has now been like, sort of like given a job.
Yeah, which we should get back to. But it's such a cool scene, like kind of showing the difference between somebody who's like accustomed to being in the afterlife, or somebody who is like of the afterlife, and somebody who's
like, visiting, and someone who's like
and so they're shown by like one person is a rear projection who's like trying to like almost just crawl through the air as if it's thick.
It might be a little overcranked.
And then one person who's just kind of gliding along.
Right. He's not even
so it's able to show him gliding, like, because he's just standing.
He's just standing in front of a screen that's going to get projected.
But then it simulates the camera moving by having a previous camera moving that is being
Right.
projected behind.
Well, then I like sorry, he's got the wind on him, so like his hair is blowing in the wind, and Orpheus behind him asks, "Why is there wind on you and not me? I don't feel any wind." And Orpheus is like, "Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
it's the afterlife. It's magic." Like,
yeah. We don't understand it either.
right. And that too is like all the characters who are like from the afterlife are like, we barely understand how this works already.
But in that scene too, they do all of this like really cool stuff to like link the two parts of the scene together, where they're having a conversation with each other. And one of the cool things about this transitional space is that there are all of these like lost souls who are continuing on with their lives, not realizing that they're dead. And there's like a glass seller who he walks through the frame in the rear projection, and then he walks back through the frame in the real shot. So it's like linking the two parts together in a really good way.
Yeah, just like really clever, simple use of effects that is like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I do really like the world building of this movie, like the function of the afterlife and like how it's like very bureaucratic, and it's like
this is like
death is kind of just a person with a job, and it's kind of implied that there are many, like each person has someone that's like assigned to be their death.
I think she's the death for more than one person.
She's definitely the death for more than one person, but it's sort of like I definitely get the sense that she is not the sole figure of death. She is like a former human who is now functioning as death.
A reaper.
Like,
a la Manuel Calavera.
Yeah, much like the video game Grim Fandango, which must be riffing on this movie, right?
Yeah, having people who did not live the best lives having to like pay off their debt in the transitional afterlife between like the true heaven and the and it being like a bureaucracy, and there being like, oh, my boss is on my back again. I haven't like, this soul got put in the wrong place. It's so cool too, because it's like a bureaucracy, but it's like a mystical, arcane bureaucracy. You know?
But it's like, as Death says, it's like, this has been going on for so long, and it's like there's so many layers to it. Like no one really knows. No one knows where the orders are coming from.
Yeah, and there was such a cool part where all of these people who are acting as like these entities of the of like almost like forces of nature of the afterlife. To like be the reaper for someone or be the chauffeur into the afterlife. There's a point where they say something like, we don't know why we're doing what we're doing. Are we neurons in some kind of like thought? Are we like responding to the thought of like God or something like that?
Are we his thoughts?
Are we the physical manifestation of his thoughts? It was
cool. Are we his dream? His bad dream?
Are we incredible?
Very
so
very
cool.
French. Rules. Great.
So cool. So good. Yeah.
We haven't even really talked about what I think a lot of the runtime of this movie is, which is like Orpheus the poet sees a guy get hit by some motorcycles and dies, and like accompanies that guy to the afterlife.
Yeah, it seems like because his death has fallen in love with him, he witnesses a death that she's bringing into the other world, and then it's just like, you come with me. Yeah, and then he just like,
it's like Death falls in love with Orpheus, and then he kind of falls in love with her also, despite being married to Eurydice.
By the way,
him and Eurydice are not on good terms at the beginning of this movie.
Right. He's kind of a piece of shit.
Yes, absolutely. So much dialogue that he's like so incredibly dismissive of her, which weirdly enough in this movie didn't bother me as much, because I'm like, oh, he's French. Like I think this movie is able to tonally find a place where the cruelty inherent in their marriage, it's not pleasant, but it's not like, it doesn't break the movie for me.
We don't ever, we see them as just like, I mean, it's taking real world figures, real world type people, and it's calling them Orpheus and Eurydice, right? It is like, you're able to look at them not as like two real people in a real bad relationship, because they have been like lifted up into myth.
Right. They are mythic characters. I think the movie is expecting you to bring a certain amount of understanding and of familiarity with those character kind of archetypes, while then also catching them as like a bickering French couple. A lot of this movie is Death falls in love with Orpheus.
Yeah.
Orpheus is then intrigued by this like mysterious woman.
And like the world that he was brought into.
Yeah.
He becomes obsessed with it after he gets back.
Hortubis is, right, sort of this, I guess akin to a ferryman. He's a chauffeur. And then he is falling
For sure.
Yeah. He's falling in love with Eurydice at the same time. And then when Eurydice inevitably is killed, she is also hit by motorcycles. That's everyone who dies in this is hit by a motorcycle, pretty much.
Those motorcycle people seem to be like the instruments of death.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. The henchmen of death.
Where, yeah, it's just like I don't know if they're even literal motorcycles. I think they're like
not really.
Yeah, they're like someone dies and then the motorcycle people drag them away. You know?
And so we get the sort of like, the actual sort of from the myth, Orpheus descends into the underworld to get Eurydice back, and is kind of given he convinces the sort of whatever the court of like old Frenchmen who kind of preside over the goings on in the underworld, that it's like, all right, you can both return home. Orpheus can't talk about what he's seen, and also Eurydice can come back, but Orpheus can't look at her, as per the myth. But what this movie does that the myth doesn't really do is like they go back home immediately. There's no like long journey back.
Yeah.
It's just that then they're both in their house and Orpheus can't look at her.
It's very funny to take the Orpheus and Eurydice myth.
It becomes like Orpheus and Eurydice as a sitcom.
Yeah.
For 5 to 10 minutes. Where it's like they're just trying to go through their everyday life again, but like he can't look at her.
Yeah,
and he like sees a picture of her in a magazine. It's like, oh, I looked. And it's like, oh no, you can look at pictures. That's fine.
It's really funny to just like take that like heightened mythic thing and then just like I feel like it feels weird that it's in the movie, but I almost feel like Cocteau was like, this is too funny of an idea to not do.
Yeah.
So like we're just gonna like pause for a second and have a sitcom where they can't look at each other.
Yeah. And that's like as an adaptation of the myth, I don't think this really adapts the myth well, in quotes. And it doesn't have the sort of like he could have gotten, because he does see her in the mirror and she disappears, but that's like fixed very quickly.
Well, and also like this adds in a complication of that like Orpheus doesn't super care about Eurydice.
No. Yeah. Like even as he's not allowed to look at her, he's like, this is just annoying now.
When the I can't say his French name, when the chauffeur like asks Orpheus like, why are you going into the afterlife? Are you going for Eurydice or are you going for death?
Yeah.
And he's like, both. And like, you know, he is kind of going into the afterlife to choose which lady he wants.
Yeah.
And like he tries to choose both. He ends up like he's like, I might as well save Eurydice. She's my wife, you know. But like he doesn't like when as soon as they're back, he's just like, man, this is such a pain in the ass.
They're back to bickering like immediately, and he's back to being like, Eurydice, you're such a pain in my ass for it. Me not being able to look at you.
Yeah. And yeah, so it creates like a very interesting, like a different dynamic with that whole story. And you can tell that like he kind of really wants death, you know, which like yearning for death also is another kind of interesting kind of idea. That
but it's like, I like how this movie is using the Greek myth as like a jumping off point. And it's like, it's hitting all the beats, but it's kind of recontextualizing them at the same time.
Yeah, it's playing around with it. It's doing interesting stuff with it. By the way, just speaking of this guy who wants death.
Yeah.
Like maybe the first depiction of death as a sexy goth chick, right? Like we see this in Sandman.
It can't be the first, because I was like, that must be in a silent movie somewhere.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. But like also, you know, it seems a little novel, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the kind of look of a goth woman probably didn't exist much longer before the 50s in France, you know? So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Iconic either way.
The actual end of the movie, Orpheus and Hortubis go back to the underworld. Orpheus is like professes his love for death, but then she's like, no, we can't be together. You belong back alive with Eurydice. And so she kind of like time travels him back, reverses. We like see the same footage of him walking through the afterlife reversed, and like sends him and Eurydice back to like kind of a scene that happened earlier in the movie. And they both seem very happy in that moment. And it's like, that's the last we see it. We see Orpheus and Eurydice happy together the last time on screen. And then for sort of like breaking the rules, Death and Hortobis are arrested by the sort of motorcycle, whatever, henchmen.
Dream
death
manifestations.
henchmen. And this other sort of recent conscript, the guy who dies at the beginning and is sort of like throughout the movie is kind of being taught the ropes of how to be a like ghost person. He's like, what happens when you get arrested in the afterlife? And one of them says, nothing good. And he's like, it's never anything good. And they say, here worse than anywhere else. And then they're both, Hortobis and Death are like led off to parts unknown, like wherever you go in the afterlife when you do something bad and they take you away.
Yeah, I mean, like in Grim Fandango, you maybe just get turned into a piece of furniture or something like that.
Right, like what happens to you then? Nothing good, but like that's as much as we know. So it's like the end of this is like wholly different from the myth. Like Orpheus and Eurydice end up together happily. Meanwhile, like Death and her chauffeur are arrested by the ghost cops. The idea of like these two dead people who are like I've had my shot at life. I belong here in the afterlife now. Who are both in love with living people, but are like, no. They're still alive. They deserve to be alive together. We're going to sacrifice our own sort of standing in the afterlife for that to happen. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, all right, here we go.
Maybe like go to hell, basically.
Yeah, like wherever we go now, we don't know, but like we accept it.
Yeah.
God, what a picture. I love this movie.
Yeah,
like,
this movie
unabashedly, like, I don't know if we're wrapping up soon, but like this was my favorite movie of the night.
This is my favorite movie too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice to see that we're in agreement.
Our favorite section was. I have a couple little small things to say about this.
Yeah.
One, I think it's very funny at the beginning that like there's a place called the Poets Cafe, and then like people are constantly like getting into fist fights there.
Yeah, there's like always.
It's kind of silly irony, I guess, of like, you know, poets, and then everyone's like, ah!
Yeah, this movie is sort of somewhat satirical like viewpoint on poets. I think is very funny. I don't know if I have the full understanding of like the context of like how poetry was being viewed in France in the 50s. I mean, Jean Cocteau was also a poet. So it's like he's coming from
meta.
Right. I think any sort of like criticism or sort of making fun of French poets in this movie is very much him being like, oh, fucking poets. Because this movie does feel like the poet community is like annoying.
I mean, and yeah, this is like the 50s. This is like the era of poets beginning.
I think I wrote down in my notes like, to be a French poet in the 50s. Like,
right.
They're all sitting around a cafe talking about their dumb nudist poems of blank books.
But that's great. It's genius.
Yeah.
Watching this movie made me want to put a beret on.
Yeah, they get into so many fights. We skipped over the entire part where they a mob of them shows up to Orpheus's house and they murder him.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that part specifically because of the soundtrack over it.
Right, it's all like jazz drums.
It's like a Birdman, you know?
It's so good.
Like
Birdman jazz drums start playing, and then we see like 3 cars full of like angry like French poets. They're like, Orpheus, we hate you. And they start throwing rocks at him.
Incredible. Yeah, a poet lynching.
Yeah.
A poet lynching to jazz drums.
As they're like climbing over his wall. Yeah.
Okay, 2 other funny things. There's one of the shots of him moving through the mirror. He's like he can't get in, and he's stuck, and he's putting his hands up like in front of this fake glass.
He's doing mind mirror.
A French guy pretending that there's a wall in front of him.
But then it cuts to a close up, and he puts his face against it, so it clearly is a piece of glass.
Yeah.
There's another thing where you're like, I see what they're doing here, and then the next shot they switch it, so you're like, oh wait, was that?
Yeah.
No.
But I just love him being a mime. It was so funny.
Of course. This movie could not get more French. There's that whole scene where he's chasing after Death, like through the streets, and he passes by just like a couple making out. And he's like, have you seen a person? Never mind. Like, they're busy.
Yeah. Oh, man. There's a point where Eurydice...
He gets like mobbed by fangirls who are like, Orpheus, the famous poet, like sign our book. And he's like, oh, God, again.
I feel like I need to mention this anytime anything like it comes up. But there's a point where Eurydice is trying to tell Orpheus that she's pregnant. and so she's like knitting like baby socks.
Oh, yeah.
And then she drops one on the ground and he steps on it. It is on ground baby shoes stepped on.
Also, like, the fact she keeps trying to tell him that she's pregnant, and he like won't listen to her.
Yeah, because he's obsessed. This is one other kind of element.
He's obsessed with like the radio broadcasts from the afterlife.
Like, yeah, there are these like strange, I don't know, like words that are indecipherable words that are being heard.
They're
on
poems. Another poet who died.
Death poems.
Yeah.
And like the person who's doing it, who was the one at the poetry thing who died, and he's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I'm just kind of
he's just typing like gibberish.
And he's like writing on instinct, right?
Right. And
he's
Orpheus is like, this means something.
But maybe it does, right?
Yeah,
I think that like he does not know what he's doing. It's not like he's just like futzing around.
Channeling.
He's channeling something.
Right.
And like Orpheus is like, there is some mysterious broadcast happening from the afterlife. Like, what? So cool. So cool.
But is simultaneously like getting at, I think, a pretty real truth of like what the creative process can feel like, of like you're channeling something from somewhere else. You don't even understand. It's just sort of like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm writing it down. It's a very big David Lynch thing. This movie feels very influential on Lynch, possibly.
I mean, also speaking of Lynch, have I told you about how like I've been kind of thinking about this for a while, of like, because you are not in control of what happens in your dreams, and if you have an idea in a dream and then you're like, that's a great idea, you're basically stealing the idea, but from yourself. You know, you're plagiarizing the idea because you didn't like come up with it. You just like witnessed it as if you watched a movie and then stole it.
You see,
but it just happened
when we're dreaming, we create and we perceive our reality simultaneously.
Depends if you're like a lucid dreamer or whatever, you know. But like,
I'm quoting Inception now, is what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
But that is this movie feels very influential, I think, on Inception and on Chris Nolan in general. I see a lot of Chris Nolan in this movie.
Mm-hmm. There is someone who become death.
There you go. Precisely. I can see this movie's influence on a lot of modern stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think it gets like necessarily like name checked much. I don't know how well known this movie. I mean, it's famous in sort of like French artsy movie circles for sure. Like it's not obscure, I wouldn't say. I wish this movie was talked about more, I guess.
Sure.
One, it's super interesting. It's got a lot going on. It's like its technique is really incredible, but also, it rules. It's super fun. It's very funny.
Yeah. I mean, like,
visually dazzling.
When we went from 1919 into 1920, and we kind of noticed this like huge jump in quality of the movies, like from the 1910s to the 1920s, and it's just like, now we're in the 20s, now we're in the golden era of silent film, and it's just like immediately right out the gate. And I feel like now that we're in 1950 and we're seeing this movie, it's like we are immediately right out the gate of seeing these kind of famous 50s existentialist French movies, you know? Like, and it's just like, bam, Orpheus. It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, between this and Beauty and the Beast, I definitely want to track down and watch the rest of Cocteau's filmography, which isn't very long. Like, he was very much a sort of like multi-hyphenate artist who he wrote poems, he painted, he like did all sorts, like film was just one tangent of his just being an artist, which I also think is part of what makes his movies cool, is that you can feel that in them, I think, that he's like pulling in a lot of influence and sort of technique from just other artistic mediums, which, you know, film is a great place to do that because it combines all of them. One of the things I like about making movies is that it's like it's all art forms simultaneously.
You can film a painting and boom, you got a painting in your movie.
Both of our favorite is Orpheus.
Yeah. But a run for its money, like there were a couple of quite good movies.
I really like Sunset Boulevard. I think Sunset Boulevard is a great movie. If it weren't for Orpheus, that'd be my number 2 pick, I guess. I liked all of these movies, even though Harvey, I know I've said it. I feel like I was maybe sounding a little harsh on.
Yeah, I think I'm the most lukewarm on Cinderella.
Yeah, I know, but even Cinderella, like it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, a lot of good movies. 1950.
Yeah, I'm excited for the what the rest of the decade will bring.
And I hope you're excited too, listeners, because that's the end of the episode. Up next, 1951. So
Great.
thanks for listening to this episode. Follow us online, all that stuff. I hope you enjoyed. And Glenn, I will see you next year.
See you next year.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same situation, just a vastly different point of view.
So there's two ways to look at something.
Yeah.
That's
right.
the point of the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, just say that.
What?
Well, you just lead me on this epic fucking journey with the story, and 10 minutes later, the point is that there's two ways to look at something. You could just say that.
You like that story?
That would be awful.
Wouldn't it, right?
Yeah.
It sucked, right?